Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is January the 19th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2023 on the Greco-Roman civil calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan court action. We are the sovereign living justice in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign living justice Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. Both are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are executing and exercising the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 living United States District for Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciary, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and entitled beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension, issue a universal creditor's bill for possession and custody over all judgment debtors. We exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc, and all words that we use are according to our will and our intention. Islam. First, we want to congratulate everyone. This is day 29 of our 40-day national fast. So I'm excited about that because we have like 10 days after today, 10 days on our fast. And I will say that it has been going very well. I hope that yours has been going well too. I've learned to use seafood in a whole new way. And so we do have, as of this time, actually around 10 and a half days, and our fast will be successfully complete. We are abstaining from consuming the flesh and blood of land animals to celebrate our return back to the land. So we have been staying with seafood and plants and other foods, anything except for flesh and blood land animals. We began our fast on the winter solstice, December 21st, and it will end on January 31st for those who choose to end the fast at that time. There are others who, in some cases, this was already a lifestyle for them. So this was an easy one for them. And then for others, it was a bit of a challenge. And for those that it was a bit of a challenge, you may consider keeping this as a lifestyle. And then for those who choose to go back to chicken and other animals that have walked on the land, we don't condemn anyone for whatever it is that they choose to partake in. So with that being stated, we've been discussing meeting the needs for all Moors, okay? That is what government does. Government hears from the people, which is, we're all the government and we're actually all the people too. Government hears from the people about what the people need, and then we restate what we see on the public record. We stated that means to create it in our own sovereign state and then activate whatever it is that we see. So we want to make sure that all Moors can eat and have plenty and don't have to worry about sustenance. So we want to implement another one of our national trust programs, the natural food stamp program law for 2023. We looked back in history and we saw several different iterations of natural food acts. There was the earliest one that I found was in 1785, I believe it is. And in fact, I think I'll just put that on the screen so that you can see it. Here, I'll put this one on the screen. This was the oldest one that I could find. It was very short and to the point, and it just stated that, you know, anyone in the act of selling unwholesome provisions would be convicted before the justices in the county where such offense was committed and the justices of the Supreme Court, and they would be punished by fine, imprisonment, standing in the pillory, and binding to the good behavior, which means that's binding to the good behavior means being on parole and making sure that you don't do that again. Or one or more of these punishments to be inflicted according to the degree and aggravation of the offense. So, and this was done March 8th, 1785. And so we then found another one, the Food Stamp Act of 1964, Public Law 88-525, as enacted by the previous corporations doing business as 88th Congress, and this was done August 31st, 1964. It is an act, so it's not the law. It never was the law. And so we will make we have, of course, gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and rewritten it. This act of 1934 was actually quite extensive. And so, well, it was about 8 pages, so which is not that bad for us, because sometimes we can have things that are, 50 and 60 and 70 pages or more. But we want to take a moment and go over this, and then we will explain, and I'll just explain now why this is important. This is important now because many of you may have seen that the subject, previously custodian in the office of Treasurer, Secretary of the Treasury, quote unquote, Janet Yellen put out a letter. And again, it's not the law, it's a letter. We have to restate everything that's put out by the subjects because those are suggestions from them. And there was a letter put out stating that they are, once again, that they don't have any money or anything to give anyone. And as of January the 19th, which is today, they are saying that that Congress will need to take extraordinary measures. And we could show you that, but I would like for you to just look it up so that you can see that they talk in the letter about the 2 treasuries, the 2 presidents, the 2 parties, and we know there's no duality. We're the only presidents. All Moors are the only presidents. We're the only Congress. They talked about the two Congresses, and things like that, things of that nature. So Congress and the Treasury need to take extraordinary measures so that the United States, the credit rating for the United States is not downgraded. Well, our credit rating has always been perfect. It never has been downgraded ever, because everyone has been eating and living well off the moors. So, and because everyone is still eating today, our credit rating is still perfect. So, with that being stated, the extraordinary measures that we take have to do with us printing our own natural food stamps and things like that, and making sure that this notification and this court action is properly delivered to all custodians in the office of grocery stores, retail stores, food stores, anything of that nature. And so what we can do is, everyone does not have to go around and deliver things. We can just put it on the public record at our territories. So I wanted us to take a moment and go over and just read through the rewrite, the statement, not a rewrite, but it's a statement by our government. And if there are any changes that need to be made, this Congress can make those changes and put the document on the public record so that Moors can have what they need. And then it even states in our document, as well as the suggested document by the subjects, that we print our documents, our food, natural food coupons and things. So let me pull up the rewrite and put it on the screen. It is a quo warranto mandamus restitutio mittimus. Mittimus is the same almost as remittance. Okay, and I want to clear up one brief point about this and about all the things that we've been doing. At the beginning of all of our court actions, we talk about the full faith and the trust of the people. Our full faith and our trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people. We've been stating that the Constitution that we were seeing previously, that we thought was something that we needed to be under previously in our sleep, we now know that it needs to be continued. We need to continue the statement of that, because it needs to be reconstructed and reformed all over from start to finish, because it has debtor language in it. And the more I thought about it and the more we've been demonstrating, what we are asserting and putting forth and putting on the record continuously is not just our credit, it is the trust. So the full faith and trust was actually what the original Constitution said, whereas the one that we had been looking at said full faith and credit of the United States. And so ours is the full faith and trust. And we could even say full faith, trust, and credit for the United States, which is because we're the real United States, or States United. They are the fake one. There was a dead one that was pretending to be us, and that's the only reason anybody around the earth even listened to them, is because they said that they're the Americans, they're the United States, they're America, they're whatever, more, whatever they said. And we're talking about the modern European hybrids that went around doing things. The original States United is not just the 50 states earthwide. Our United States includes the United States for Mexico, the United States for Africa, the United States for Europe, the United States for Asia, and others. That's all encompassed under the United States, which is us, on an earthwide scale. And so whenever we talk about the United States for America, we're talking about the whole earth. Okay? When we say United States, we're talking about all the United States put together. United States of Africa, United States of Europe, United States of Asia, all of them put together. They call themselves that when the Moors are awake and demonstrating. And so they're going to go back to those as we continue to stand. I heard one over at Africa mention that. Our brother Julius Malema mentioned that over there. The United States, he said the United States of Africa, but originally they were the United States for Africa. So having cleared that up, because the United States is the creditor, the United States for America is the creditor. The United States of America Corporation, previously from the last era, are the debtors. So we just wanted to kind of clarify that as we continue to roll out the natural and national food stamp programs. Law 2023. So let me make sure that you can see that on the screen. So the National Food Programs Law, and this says natural. Let me just make sure that we have those the same. National and natural mean the same to us, but we want to be specific. Before we go into this, are there any questions or comments or anything? I do want to thank Empress Shea Marie for doing the court action with regard to food stamps. She did some awesome work there. A beautiful court action on YouTube at her channel. And so if you all would take a moment, whenever you have some time, to just look at the channels that are out there that the matriarchs are doing. Empress Shasha, Empress Shea Marie, myself, Empress Angel, Empress Shatali, Empress Freedom. Many are doing these actions on the public record. Empress Rose, many are doing actions on the public record. And then Empress, and some of the empresses, their court actions are just very powerful, being put on the public record. So please ensure that you take a look at those. And then if you feel led, put your own court action on the public record as well, because the more of us who speak, the better. The louder our voices get. So are there any questions before we start? Okay.
Yeah, why do you need food stamps when you got Delarium?
If you also have, by the way, Morris, if you have, and let me go back to where this came from. We have the ability to print money in all forms. We can print money however we choose to print money. This is another money printing process. Okay? And prior to the program that was just drugged through the mud called food stamps, that program was initially introduced long before, back in the 30s and 40s and, you know, around that time period, those processes, food stamps, Social Security, and all of that was introduced for the foreigners who came here and who needed to get food. Okay, we didn't need it because this is our land, and we were farming and doing all the things that we needed to do. Those programs were put in place, and they were also put in place for protege Moors. That's Moors who chose to go into the corporate, that other thing, so that they could learn, and then they were to come back out and use it to grow the nation, like what we all are doing. Take the skills that we learned in captivity, quote unquote, and use them to grow the vast estate. And so those programs were for the foreigners. So now what are we doing? Now that everyone has spent the last 100 and some odd years pretending to be us, and, you know, using and showing, you know, illustrating what it's like to be the Moors, because that's really what that was, just acting like they were the Moors. We're implementing these to make sure that the Moors are stabilized. This is a stabilization, and we're stabilized. We know that because we're actually stabilizing everybody else, because the land has always been stable. And so we're going to be rolling out all of these programs, because that other thing is broke. It has nothing to give to anyone. So we have to restate everything. And that's what we're doing, okay? So we're doing that to assist all people, okay? And so, you know, no one else can do it. That's why we're doing it. No one else can. No one else can access the vast estate. And even those who were previously pretending like they could, can't. So, Section 1 of the National Food Programs Law for 2023. This language, by the way, was taken from the Food Stamp Act. It was taken from the Food Stamp Act of 1964. Okay, that's where this language came from, and of course we went through it with a fine-tooth comb and changed quite a bit of it. So, Section 1, to strengthen the agricultural economy and to achieve a fuller, highly effective use for the abundance of natural foods and natural food items on the land, in alignment with 21 United States Code for Food and Drugs as written by this Congress. A law to provide foods that promote natural healing and nutriment to all entitled peoples through a United States cooperative federal and state program for food assistance obtained through normal channels for trade and for other purposes. And I will say this as a caveat: as I was going through this and I saw them talking about food going through the normal chains of trade for other purposes as well, that little statement in theirs meant that they could put things in the food to make people docile, and things in the food to make people do, you know, all types of craziness, you know, affecting cellular and mental and those things for others. They already know they can't really affect anything that has to do with us and our cells, our bodies. They can't do it unless we consent to that. But if we don't consent, it won't happen. And we can see that by all that has been going on. So further, it says here, be it created by this ancient Congress assembled that this law be entitled National Food Programs Law for 2023. Policy statement, and this is Section 2. This was Section 1 that we just read. Section 2. This congressional law does promote the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, general welfare, stating that the nation's abundance of food shall be utilized, and that's what. That was supposed to be the word shall be utilized cooperatively by the states the federal government, and local governmental ministries to safeguard the healing and well-being for the nation and uplift nutrition among all peoples. The Congress hereby states that the use of healing foods establishes, maintains, and exceeds superior national levels of nutriment while strengthening the agricultural abundances and economy, as well as result in more orderly marketing and distribution of food tributes to the people in a beneficially entitled manner. We hereby authorize, activate, effectuate, and implement this congressionally approved natural food stamp program, which permits all peoples to receive a greater share of the national natural food abundance. And this Congress has not approved it yet, but we put that language in there. And then if there are any changes that you see that need to be made, Moores, you can star 6 and we can speak it. Please write them down so that as we read through this, once we get to the end, we can go through them. Okay. Section 3, as used in this law, the term secretary means the agriculture secretary, or Article 3, sovereign justice ministering the natural food program. The term food means any natural food or natural food item for human consumption as deemed by this Congress. Imported food shall meet the same definitions and shall be natural. The term coupon means any national coupon, national stamp, or national certificate issued pursuant to the provisions of this law. The term coupon allotment means the total value of coupons to be issued to the people during each month or other time period. The term household shall mean a group of related or non-related entitled beneficiaries who are not residents of an institution or boarding house, but are living as one economic unit, sharing common cooking facilities, and for whom food is customarily purchased in common. The term household shall also mean a single individual living alone who has cooking facilities and who purchases and prepares natural food for domicile consumption. The term retail food store means an establishment including a recognized ministry or store thereof, or a house-to-house trade route which sells natural food to households for domicile consumption. The term wholesale food concern means an establishment which sells natural food to retail food stores for resale to households. The term state agency means the state government agency which has responsibility for the administration or ministry of the federally aided public assistance programs. The term bank means member or non-member banks of the National Federal Reserve System, which is not the corporate one. It's the national one. The term state means the 50 original states and the District 4 Columbia, which is over here and not over there. The term food stamp program means any program stated pursuant to the provisions of this law. Establishment for the natural food stamp program. The Secretary is authorized to formulate and administer a natural food stamp program by which, at the request of an appropriate state agency, eligible households within the state shall be provided with naturally nutritional foods through the issuance of them to them of a coupon allotment which shall have a greater monetary value than their normal expenditures for food. The coupons so received by such households shall be used only to purchase food from retail food stores which have been approved for participation in the food stamp program as, and I want to put as stated, and as stated above. Coupons issued and used as provided in this law shall be redeemable at face value by the Secretary through the facilities of the Treasury for the United States. And this actually should say, shall be redeemable at face value by the program, let's see, by the retail program participants to the Treasury. Let's see, what did I miss? Just a moment. Now you see how these get done. This all shall be redeemable at face value by the retail program participants through the facilities of the Treasury for the United States. Okay, that's what I meant to say. In areas where a food stamp program is in effect, there shall be no distribution of federally owned foods to households under the authority of any other law except during emergency situations caused by a national or other disaster as determined by the Secretary. The Secretary shall issue such regulations consistent with this law as she deems necessary, or he, or appropriate for the effective and efficient administration or ministry of the Natural Food Stamp Program. Eligible households' participation in the Natural Food Stamp Program is for all people until such time as the Secretary shall review and update according to the needs of the program. So at this time, there is no income, quote unquote, requirement. In other words, you don't have to be dead broke. You don't have to be dead broke to participate in the program. All people at this time can do so. And then the way this is written, we just state that we will review the program again and look at it over time, and then we'll make adjustments as the program determines based on the resources. It says, when updated, the program may be limited to those households whose income is determined to be a substantial limiting factor in the attainment of naturally nutritional and adequate foods. So, Moors, we have to get this started, okay? But then over time, like, again, all people can use them. All people can use it. Doesn't matter who they are. The retailers must be of national origin. At such time as the limitation may be activated in complying with the potential limitation on participation set forth in subsection A above, each state agency shall establish standards to determine the eligibility of applicant households. Such standards shall include maximum income limitations consistent with the income standards used by the state agency in administration of its federally aided public assistance programs. Such standards also shall place a limitation on the resources to be allowed eligible households. And again, this is not the case right now. This will be the case as we review and as participation picks up in the program. The standards of eligibility to be used by each state for the food stamp program shall be subject to the approval of the Secretary, whoever that may be. Issuance and use for national coupons, Section 6. Coupons shall be printed in such denominations as may be determined to be necessary and shall be issued only to households and people who have been duly certified as having proclaimed true national status on the public record, thereby demonstrating eligibility to participate in the National Food Stamp Program. So whatever their national status is, if they are a subject, then that should be on the public record. If they are a Moorish American national or you know, of the bloodline and birthright, then that should be on the public record in order to participate. Because that other program, you had to be a quote-unquote U.S. citizen to participate. Okay. Coupons issued to, Part B, coupons issued to eligible households shall be used by them only to obtain natural food and retail food stores which have been approved for participation in the National Food Stamp Program at reasonable prices prevailing in such stores. Therefore, nothing in this law shall be construed as authorizing the Secretary to specify the prices at which food may be sold by wholesale food concerns or retail food stores. Coupons issued to eligible households shall be simple in design and shall include only such words or illustrations as are required to explain their purpose and define their denomination. The name of any public official shall not appear on such coupons. I've not seen what food stamp coupons look like in the previous era. I don't know what they look like. But if they had a signature on them, if someone who knows what they look like, and I could have probably Googled it, if they had a signature on it, would you please let us know? Islam. I don't think they did, but just let us know if you had some that did have a signature on them. Value of the coupon allotment and charges to be made. Section 7, the face value of the coupon allotment which state agencies shall be authorized to issue to households certified as eligible to participate in the food stamp program shall be in such amount as will provide such households with an opportunity to obtain low-cost, nutritionally superior natural foods. Households shall be charged in such portion of the face value of the coupon allotment issued to them as is determined to be equivalent to their normal expenditures for food. The value of the coupon allotment provided to any eligible household which is in excess of the amount charged such households for such allotment shall not be considered to be income or resources for any purpose under any federal or state laws, including but not limited to laws relating to taxation, welfare, and public assistance programs. And a question that may come up, and this is again a sidebar, a question that may come up is, if you have Delarium, why is this program being implemented? It's being implemented for the same reason that in the previous era they had fiat flying everywhere, but they also had food stamps going around. Because at some point, one or the other will be used depending on your status, your income, and the like. So there are Moors who are going to start businesses in this new era, and they won't use food stamps. They'll use Delarium between nationals, or they'll use Swiss francs otherwise, or United States dollars, because we have, or merchant cards or whatever. We have an entire economic system set up, just like in the previous era. And then there are some Moors who will decide that they just want to stay home, raise their heirs, and just be. Okay, then this type of a program, if they choose to take advantage of it, they can. So funds, but again, this program is for those who come here to this land. You know, right now it's going to be for all of us, because it's always going to be for all of us. But as we begin to as we continue to move our own money around, some Moors will not need this anymore, or not need, they will not desire this program anymore, and that's fine. Funds derived from the charges made for the coupon allotment shall be promptly deposited in a manner prescribed in the regulations issued pursuant to this law in a separate account maintained in the Treasury for the United States for such purpose. Such deposits shall be available without limitation to fiscal years for the redemption of coupons. Now, when I saw this in the writings, in the suggested writings, it said to me that there's still deposits available from when our ancestors did this without limitation to fiscal years for the redemption of coupons. I'm just putting that out there. Section 8, retail food stores and wholesale. Just one wholesale. Just a moment. Does someone have something that they wanted to state? Does someone have something that they wanted to state? There's an echo. There's an echo. Okay. Let's continue. So, retail food stores and wholesale food concerns approval. Whether you're going to have a mortgage business or whether you're going to, whatever you choose to do, this is going to be important because your business may be accepting these coupons from Moores and then you'll cash them in, or deposit them in your merchant account, or you'll be using them. So either way, you still need to know how to use them and to be able to assist others in using them, in using this program. Regulations issued pursuant to this law shall provide for the submission of applications for approval by retail food stores and wholesale food concerns which desire to be authorized to accept and redeem coupons under the food stamp program, and for the approval of those applicants whose and that should be application, but applicants at our nation means affidavit. You know, affidavit, application, same thing. Whose participation will effectuate the purposes of the food stamp program. In determining the qualifications of applicants, there shall be considered, among other such factors as may be appropriate, the following: the nature, which is the proper status, and the extent, which means natural foods, of the retail and wholesale food business conducted by the applicant. And this is, again, applicants, these are retailers who may want to be a part of this program. The volume, and this is going to be grocery stores and all other places. The volume of coupon business which may reasonably be expected to be conducted by the applicant retail food store or wholesale food concern, and the business integrity and reputation of the applicant. The grocery stores will be participating in this program, just so that we are all aware. Approval of an applicant shall be evidenced by the issuance to such applicant of a non-transferable approval certificate. So those of you who've placed, all Moores really, but those of you who've placed constitutions for your state on the public record, for example, we placed the Constitution for Washington on the public record. So we will begin at some point issuing these approval certificates to the stores so that they can receive these coupons from anyone who brings them, and they'll be able to deposit them at the bank. Regulations issued pursuant to this law shall require an applicant retail food store or wholesale food concern to submit information which will permit a determination to be made as to whether such applicant qualifies or continues to qualify for approval under the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Regulations issued pursuant to this law shall provide for safeguards which restrict the use or disclosure of information obtained under the authority granted by this subsection to purposes directly connected with administration and enforcement of the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Any retail food store or wholesale food concern which has failed upon application to receive approval to participate in the food stamp program may obtain a hearing on such refusal as provided in Section 13 of this law. When I saw this in here, Morris, this is why our courts had to be set up first. Because everything is a court action. And those who were on food stamps previously, did you know that you were submitting to their court just by being on the program? These are court actions. Every time you go in and you sit down and there's someone at a desk and they're talking to you and they seem to just be talking, but that's a court action. They're actually holding court. You know, any place that you go into and there's some application process, or, you know, you're having a conversation with these people. If you go into a bank and you want to open an account, they'll say, okay, sit down right here. They sit you down, okay, and they sit down on the other side, and then they do the same thing. They establish identities. What's your name? What's your address? That's jurisdiction, all of that. So all of this, everything is court actions, and so we had to have our courts active in order to even think about being able to feed everyone. Okay, and so that's why, sure. That is why our courts are so important, and I will say this, just one moment. It's unlocked for those who are wanting to come in, and that's another reason why I really want to just thank our teachers, to include Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, for insisting that our courts be up and active and running and going and doing and governing, because, you know, we are all looking at how are we going to do this? How we do it through our courts. And he knew, our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey knew that our courts needed to be speaking so that
teaching how to do food stamp,
so that we can ensure that everyone on our land, the foreigners, including, you know, the court jesters, need food too. We do have to make sure that everyone can eat.
Taj kicked you out of the consulate, Pauline.
That one right there, all of that, they still have to be able to eat on this landmass here. And so that's what the programs are for. But at this time, our nation is stabilizing everyone else. So we have to put these on the public record. Okay, so let's continue. Redemption of coupons. Section 9. Regulations issued pursuant to this law shall provide for the redemption of coupons accepted by retail food stores through approved wholesale food concerns or through Treasury with the cooperation of the banks. So merchants will be able to take the coupons that come into their merchant facilities or any merchant facilities. They'll be able to take those to their bank and deposit them. Administration. Again, our courts are just everything. Our courts are everything. And I'll say this just as a side note. You know, when we first started doing the court actions, you know, the court jesters would come in and the courts aren't real, you know, and we don't even hear that anymore. Now it's something else, you know. I think they just like being here. And so we will make sure they have something to eat. And so they, you know, they're going to need food. And when I say they, I mean all subjects on our land, you know. So because even those who don't agree with us, we have to still provide for them. We've been doing it anyway. Still, we've been doing it anyway. We've been providing for everybody. We just didn't know it. So, administration, all efforts shall be made. Just one moment. All efforts shall be made in the administration or ministry of the food stamp program to ensure that participants use their increased natural food purchasing power to obtain those natural staple foods most desired for their nutriment. That means the nutrition of their mind, and particularly to encourage the continued use of those in abundance or surplus supply so as not to reduce the total consumption of surplus commodities, which have been made available through direct distribution. And we're not really, that language maybe it's most likely going to be changed at some point because there's something about this statement that indicates some lack, and we know we don't have lack. There's no such thing as a reduction of the total consumption because we just grow more. So I think I'm going to just remove it right now because it did not sit well with me as I was doing this. Let's see. Particularly to encourage the continued use of those in abundant or surplus supply which have been made available. I'll just take that out, which have been made available through direct distribution. In addition to such steps as may be taken administratively, the voluntary cooperation of existing federal, state, local, or private agencies which carry out informational and educational programs for entitled beneficiaries shall be activated. So this would be your 501c3, and we mean 501c3s under our government, not under that dead thing. Okay, so there may be a Moorish Meals on Wheels program or some other program that Moors have put together to assist in their communities that will want to accept or be a part of this program. That is, or there may be community gardens that may want to be a part of the program. And we want all to be able to be a part of it. You know, so if there's someone in the community who has this plot of land and they're growing these community foods and the community's working together, they should be allowed to deposit into their account these vouchers as well, or these coupons as well. The state agency of each participating state shall be responsible for applicant household certification and for coupon issuance. There shall be kept such records as may be necessary to ascertain that the program is being conducted in compliance with the provisions of this law and the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Such records shall be available for inspection and audit at any reasonable time and shall be preserved for such period of time not in excess of 3 years as may be specified in the regulations. In the certification of applicant households for the food stamp program, there shall be no discrimination against any household on the basis of nationality, religion, or politics. Participating states or participating political subdivisions thereof shall not decrease welfare grants or other similar aid extended to any person or persons as a consequence of such person or persons' participation in benefits made available under the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. So if someone gets, if someone gets these coupons, their Social Security cannot be affected by it, and their, whatever they're on, their retirement or whatever cannot be affected by the fact that they are getting food as well. This is the fulfillment of the prophecy that through us, all nations of the earth will be blessed. Okay? And that is why there is no discrimination at all on the basis of nationality, religion, or politics. And when we say politics, that's where subjects and, that whole citizen piece, that's where all of that came from. So in the other era, in this era, it means something totally different from that. The state agency of each state desiring to participate in the food stamp program shall submit for approval a plan of operations specifying the manner in which such program will be conducted within the state, the political subdivisions within the state in which the state desires to conduct the program, and the effective dates of participation by each such political subdivision. And when we say political subdivisions, we're also talking about jurisdictions. In addition, such plan of operation shall provide, among other such provisions as may by regulation be required, the following: the stated standards to be used in determining the eligibility of applicant households as stated in this law, that the state agency shall take the certification of applicant households in accordance with the entitlements by the federally aided public assistance programs, safeguards which restrict the use or disclosure of information obtained from applicant households to persons directly connected with the administration or enforcement of the programs of the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Just one moment. And for the submission of such reports and other information as from time to time may be required in approving the participation of the subdivisions requested by each state. In its plan of operation, the Secretary shall provide for an equitable and orderly expansion among the several states in accordance with their relative desire and readiness to meet their requested effective dates of participation. So at any time, any of the states that want to participate can do so. If the Secretary determines that in the administration of the program there is a failure by a state agency to comply substantially with the provisions of this law or with the regulations issued pursuant to this law or with the state plan of operation, she or he shall perform such state agency, shall inform such state agency of such failure and shall allow the state agency a reasonable period of time for the correction of such failure. Upon the expiration of such period, the Secretary shall direct that there be no further issuance of coupons in the political or jurisdictional subdivisions where such failure has occurred until such time as satisfactory corrective action has been taken. And some may say, why are we taking the time to read all of this? This is what Congress does. Congress takes the time to read the laws out, edit them, write them, put them on the public record, agree on them. And when we speak it out into the atmosphere, it is the law. And so that's why we speak things out like we do. And also this is putting it on the public record as well. If the Secretary determines that there has been gross negligence or fraud on the part of the state agency in the certification of applicant household, the state shall, upon a request of the Secretary, deposit into the separate account authorized by Section 7 of this law a sum equal to the amount by which the value of any coupons issued as a result of such negligence or fraud exceeds the amount that was charged for such coupons in alignment with Section 7B of this law. There shall be no fraud or gross negligence of any part, and we're stating that. We're just saying that that's not going to happen. Okay, retail food stores and wholesale food concerns disqualification. Any approved retail food store or wholesale food concern may be disqualified from further participation in the food stamp program on a finding made as specified in the regulations that such store or concern has violated any of the provisions of this law or of the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Such disqualification shall be for such period of time as may be determined in accordance with regulations issued pursuant to this law. The action of disqualification shall be subject to review as provided in Section 13 of this law. We have a little bit more, and then we'll be concluding the reading of this. It was a pretty good sized document, but we wanted to get it on the public record as soon as possible in the interest of the Moors and of all who are at our land. Claims determination and disposition. The Secretary shall have the power to determine the amount of and settle and adjust any claim and to compromise or deny all or part of any such claim or claims arising under the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Administrative and judicial review. Section 13. Whenever an application of a retail food store or wholesale food concern to participate in the food stamp program is denied, a retail food store or a wholesale food concern is disqualified under the provisions of Section 11 of this law, or all or part of any claim of a retail food store or wholesale food concern is denied under the provisions of Section 12 of this law. notice of such administrative action shall be issued to the retail food store or wholesale food concern involved. Such notice shall be delivered by certified mail or personal delivery, not service. If such store or concern is aggrieved by such action, it may, in accordance with regulations herein, within 10 days of the date of delivery of such notice, file a written request for an opportunity to submit information in support of its position to such person or persons as the regulations may designate.
Islam, I can't see the document.
Okay, just one moment. Thank you, Empress. Thank you. Can you see it? Islam. Okay. Such notice shall be delivered by certified mail or personal delivery. If such store or concern is aggrieved by such action, it may, in accordance with regulations herein, within 10 days of the date of delivery of such notice, file a written request for the opportunity to submit information in support of its position to such person or persons as the regulations may designate. If such a request is not made, or if such store or concern fails to submit information in support of its position after filing a request, the administrative determination shall be final. If such a request is made by such store or concern, such information as may be submitted by the store or concern, as well as such other information as may be available, shall be reviewed by the person or persons designated, who shall, in alignment with the right of judicial review hereinafter provided, make a determination which shall be final and which shall take effect 15 days after the date of delivery or written signed notification of such final notice of determination. And just as a caveat here, many of you, and I've heard testament and been sent even photos of this, of places that have received judicial, quote unquote, judicial notification that they cannot accept food stamps or Federal Reserve debt notes any longer. So retailers and food persons out there, and those notices are going to go on, I guess they're going to be moving a lot quicker. Many have received them already on both sides, actually. You know, those who were using the food stamps are not being given the food stamps anymore. Many were told that they were going to receive boxes of food each month in lieu of food stamps, and then those boxes stopped coming. So they were receiving nothing. And so that's why this is so important for us to word for word go through it and put it on the public record. So if the store or concern feels aggrieved by such final determination, I think we read that already, but let's go again. If the store or concern feels aggrieved by such final determination, he may obtain judicial review thereof by filing a complaint against the United States in the United States District Court for the district in which he resides or is engaged in business, or in any court of record, court for record of the state, and let's put for the state, having competent jurisdiction within 30 days after the date of delivery or written notification of the final notice of determination upon him, requesting the court to set aside such determination. The copy of the summons and complaint required to be delivered to the official or agency whose order is being rebutted shall be sent to the secretary of such person or persons as he may designate to receive notification for due process. The suit in the United States District Court or State Court shall be a trial de novo by the court in which the court shall determine the validity of the questioned administrative action in issue. If the court determines that such administrative action is invalid, it shall enter such judgment or order as it determines is in accordance with the law and the evidence. During the pendency of such judicial review or any appeal thereof, the administrative action under review shall be and remain in full force and effect unless an application to the court on not less than 10 days' notice and after hearing thereon and a show of irreparable injury, the court temporarily stays such administrative action pending disposition of such trial or appeal. Violations and enforcement, almost done. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this law, the Secretary may provide for the issuance or presentment for redemption of coupons to such person or persons, and at such times and in such manner as she deems necessary or appropriate to protect the interests of the United States, which is the people, or to ensure enforcement of the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law. Whoever knowingly uses, transfers, acquires, or possesses coupons in any manner not authorized by this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law, if such coupons are of the value of $100 or more, $100 or more, yes, that's gold United States dollars, by the way. So they are gold-backed coupons because that's the only system that we implement. Or more, be guilty of a felony and shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisoned for not more than 5 years or both. Or if such coupons are of a value of less than 100, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $5,000 or imprisoned for not more than 1 year or both. Whoever presents or causes to be presented coupons for payment or redemption of the value of $100 or more, knowing the same has been received, transferred, or used in any manner in violation of the provisions of this law or the regulations issued pursuant to this law, shall be guilty of a felony and shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisoned for not more than 5 years or both. Or if such coupons are of a value of less than 100, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $5,000 or imprisoned for not more than 1 year or both. Coupons issued pursuant to this law shall be deemed to be trusted and credited obligations for the United States, meaning within the meaning of Title 18 United States Code Section 8. Cooperation with state agencies, Section 15, and I believe this is, let me see, 1, 2, yeah, this is the second to the last section. Cooperation with state agencies, Section 15. Each state shall be responsible for financing from funds available to the state or state subdivisions thereof the cost of carrying out the administrative responsibilities assigned to it under the provisions of this law. Excuse me. And when you hear about states going bankrupt, that means that there has to be something going on where the people still have to have a way to eat. And so that is what happened in the previous era. And when you hear them talking about debt limits and debt ceilings and debt things being raised and lowered and suspended, et cetera, it has a direct effect on such programs as these, but in that dead state prior, because they're insolvent. So Section 15, except as provided for in subsection B of this section, such costs shall include, but shall not be limited to, the certification of households, the acceptance, storage, and protection of coupons after their delivery to receiving points within the state, and the issuance of such coupons to eligible households and the control and accounting therefor. The Secretary is authorized to cooperate with state agencies in the certification of households which are not receiving any type of public assistance, so as to ensure the effective certification of such households in accordance with the eligibility standards approved under the provisions of Section 10 of this law. Such cooperation shall include payments to state agencies for part of the cost they incur in the certification of such households. The amount of such payment to any one state agency shall be 50% of the sum, of the direct salary costs, including the cost of such fringe benefits as are normally paid to its personnel by the state agency, of the personnel used to make such interviews and such post-interview field investigations as are necessary to certify the eligibility of such households, and of the immediate supervisor of such personnel for such periods of time as they are employed in certifying the eligibility of such households. Travel and related costs incurred by such personnel in post-interview field investigations of such households, and an amount not to exceed 25% of the cost computed under 1 and 2 above. And I believe this is the final one. Yes, it is. And finally, appropriations. And this is where the Constitution comes in at. But it always does with everything we do. This is what appropriations looks like. Okay? This is what congressional appropriations and pulling from the Treasury, that's what this looks like. That's what this is. So, Section 16, to carry out the provisions for this law, there is hereby authorized and appropriated $75 million for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, not in excess of $100 million for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and not in excess of $200 million for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. And we use 2024 and 2023. We're using the Greco-Roman civil calendar because that is the calendar that is used when you're doing general appropriations. That is the calendar that is used. And then when we're doing appropriations for within certain parameters or even outside of those parameters, we will use 1442 and 1443. Okay. So, and the reason we use that also for this, the 2023, the Greco-Roman civil calendar year, for these is, again, because we're speaking to all people, not just Moors, okay? And all people can use the program, not just Moors. That's what the Greco-Roman civil calendar, that's why we invented that calendar, okay? And then when we're speaking to Moors on a national level, where Moors are doing things specifically among each other, then we use our Moorish calendar years. The moon calendar and the sun calendar. So, and not in excess of $200 million for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and not in excess of such sum as may hereafter be authorized by Congress for any subsequent fiscal year. Such portion of any such appropriation as may be required to pay for the value of the coupon allotments issued to eligible households, which is in excess of the charges paid by such households for such allotments, shall be transferred to and made a part of the separate account created under Section 7D of this law. In any fiscal year, the Secretary shall limit the value of those coupons issued, which is in excess of the value of coupons for which households are charged, to an amount which is not in excess of the portion of the appropriation for such fiscal year, which is transferred to the separate account under the provision of subsection A of this section. If in any fiscal year the Secretary finds that the requirements of participating states will exceed the limitations set forth herein, the Secretary shall direct state agencies to reduce the amount of such coupons to be issued to participating households to the extent necessary to comply with the provisions of this subsection. C, if the Secretary determines that any of the funds in the separate account created under Section 7D of this law are no longer required to carry out the provisions for this law, such portion of such funds shall be paid into the miscellaneous receipts of the Treasury. D, amounts expended under the authority of this law shall not be considered amounts expended for the purpose of carrying out The agricultural price support program and appropriations for the purposes of this law shall be considered for the purpose of budget presentations to relate to the functions of the government concerned with the welfare. Islam. Okay.
Islam.
So, Islam, Empress.
Right before you corrected the C on consideration, I think, but right before was BC, should have been BE, I do believe, on D.
Okay. Let me see. Yes, thank you, Empress. Thank you, thank you. Islam, indeed. Okay. So this is the affidavit that we will do a vote on this affidavit, and then we will send it out. And we send everything out from here. It will also be under this video on YouTube at Light Tajiribe channel, so that you all can pull copies off. In fact, what we'll do is vote on it, and then we will put the results of the vote on the document. Greco-Roman calendar year. And then I'll put whether it's approved or whether it is not approved, and then it will be under the video on YouTube. So, are there any comments, questions, changes, edits of any kind regarding this document?
Islam.
Empress Angel, and then Empress Rose, I believe.
Gratitude. So a few things. The question I have first is the amount. So is that per people and household, or is that per collective, like 75 million for fiscal year? How is this for per state?
That's collectively, federally, and the reason that it is what it is federally is for no one household can eat that much, no one state can eat that much, and because this is the first year that this particular Congress is manifesting this particular program, we went with what they had in there, with the caveat that at any time this Congress can meet again and raise those limits.
Yes, copy. And then second question is, well, it's more of a statement, because I know I'm the secretary and you know you're the secretary, right? So it's speaking about,
and we all are, yeah.
Yes, but some people, need to be, reminded, and they need to know. So that's why I made that statement the way I did. So it says that the secretary, in any fiscal year, the secretary shall limit the value of those coupons. So it would be us putting on notice as the people collective for each state. How would that work?
So states govern the program. And what we do is we implement the program in the states, and we will implement it until there is something that needs to be worked out. Because so for example, New York Territory, those who have put the constitutions on the public record for New York Territory can work together to implement the program there. There are, you know, again, we don't really do things by ourselves. We do things together. Mm-hmm. And so where secretary is concerned, that's an office. And just like a sultan, a sultan can be 12 matriarchs.
Yes.
12 matriarchs equals one sultan. 30 patriarchs equals one sultan. Those terms are all encompassing. Mm-hmm. They don't just mean one individual. So when we say secretary, we're saying the secretary's office, and I just put Article 3, you know, because those who are ministering we're all judges. And now you see why. Yeah. So work with the Moors at the territory to implement the program.
Very good. So that would mean we would all have to have like a location, an office, an actual four-walled building for these, you know, meetings necessary, because this is a trust essentially. No?
We're meeting right now.
Well, that's true. Well, for bookkeepings and things, because it said, you know, for audits and all of those things. So that's why I mentioned that. But so to the next one, how will the look like for the coupons? Is it going to be a letter-sized document? Is it going to be a half? Like, and what's it to look like in state?
It is now. This was my thinking about them. We kind of already have everything set up already. We can use the Dolarium can double as the coupons if we agree to that. Or we can implement a coupon specific, a certain set of coupons in certain denominations. I think that the highest denomination would probably be 100. You know, we can even edit the Dolarium template to state that it's a coupon, a National Treasury, United States Treasury coupon, and then issue it that way. And I would be inclined to do that because the denominations are already on there. Everyone has it already, so we don't necessarily have to make that a whole process when the process is already done. Dolarium is a very flexible currency. Because see, what people didn't know is coupons are currency too. So are vouchers, and so are stamps, and so are, you know, the postal stamps are currency. Corporate paper was currency in the last era. So, you know, I'm all for using Dolarium to do this because everybody already has it. And all we have to do is tell the stores that that's what we're going to use.
Okay. Okay, I'll yield.
Yeah. And even with Dolarium, they don't even necessarily have to be signed, and they can still be used because there doesn't need to be a name on there. There can be an appellation on there, but not a name.
And a right red thumbprint.
There can be. Islam, indeed. I'm all for Dolarium being it because it's already done. Our ancestors, it feels like they backed us into the inheritance and the estate. You know, it almost looks like everything was done backwards, but it's really done forward. Government was established allodially and sovereignly first, and then they had us do some things. Not established because we've always been, but government was done first, and then they said, okay, now do this and do this and do this. And now it's like, okay, now that we're implementing these things, we could implement them today. And here's the thing. when we go over the letter by the subject, Janet Yellen, it's dated for today.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but I sent you just before the congressional meeting opened. I saw on Instagram the news reporter, quote unquote, acting, they act, put out and was speaking to that very letter that I shared with you, and I'm like, ain't that a trip? And also, it's been in the corporate media that persons were having, corporate fiat being taken out of their corporate accounts at various institutions, and by the hundreds, and because, and I'm just like, well, clearly you haven't been listening to any, professor, teacher, or prophet rather, because it's been said all over by Empress Light, Tosh Grand Chic, and so on and so forth. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's been said, and it's happening. And it was
every time we make a move, something to the antithesis happens over there. Every time we make a move.
Exactly. And so I'm just like, and I knew because I read the letter with you, and then I was like, wait, today is the 19th. Ain't that something?
I thought about that, and I thought, our subjects know we don't have to even look at them. They know what to do.
Hey, Angel Bay, where's that 200,000 you commanded appear in your account?
Anything that we do is going to work in our favor while they're busy doing. Subjects are doing what they do. We don't have to tell the subjects what to do. All we have to do is mind our business.
Our affairs, yes.
Yes, Islam. Empress Rose was going to say something, I believe.
Yes, Islam.
Islam, Empress.
I don't know. I might have missed it because looking at while you were presenting, I was looking on my phone. Looking at it on the phone. I was thinking about the programs that obviously use food stamps, or like prisons and schools, and then also someone that I know that lives in the state of Oregon informed me that Fred Meyer is selling Fred Meyer is a grocery store chain, and they're selling Yogi brand tea as in the pharmacy when it used to be in the grocery section, and they're not accepting food stamps for it. And then another like a disqualification issue is I recently had a friend that received paperwork about she and her husband receiving food stamps for their grandchild as non-needy relatives, and they were trying to make them pay back money that they didn't have to pay back. They won the case. I told her what to do, but just like that was, and it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So and then also I was thinking about you said it's a program for everyone, like immigrants get overabundance of food stamps and stipends from this government, the de facto government. So how will that be handled as well?
They're going to have to declare their nationality and terminate all corporate contracts. And then migrate their activity over, whatever their status is on the public record, declare their nationality, declare their citizenship, whatever the case, or subject status, or whatever the case may be. And then, and once they have documentation, just like we have documentation, we have ID cards and all of that. And once they have ID card, they can take advantage of the program.
Yes, ma'am.
And here's the thing. Let's ensure that, and this is a general statement for everyone, let's ensure that we leave the old baggage in terms of what happened in the past. Let that stuff stay back there in terms of, like some would say, well, the Mexicans came here and they got all types of food stamp stipends and everything, and we were starving. Well, let's leave all of that back there so that it does not interfere in our energy here. Because see, we don't want to cut off our own blessings by dragging that baggage from previous. Because no matter what it looked like back then, we already know it was not as it seemed. It wasn't as it seemed, because there was always the time where we would look at certain ones and think, oh, why are they doing so much better than us? It wasn't what it seemed. We found out that they had been under pressure the whole time, and that they didn't file bankruptcy 3, 4, 5 times and barely keeping everything moving pillar to post, and they just weren't telling everyone how all the things that they went through. So, let's leave all of that energy in the past era, because none of that stuff was what it seemed. I'll tell you this. Everybody on this earth was looking at us like we were spoiled brats, because we didn't get up and govern nothing, and everything was just coming. You want a job, fill out an application, you get a job. You want this, fill out this, and you get this. You want that, fill out that, and get that. And all these foreigners were quote unquote enacting governing these things, when really we should have been doing it. And they were all looking at us like, I'll be so glad when y'all wake up. So nothing was what it seemed back then. Nothing. None of that stuff was real. And yes, we all been through some things. We know that. So, let's move on. Let's move on so that we keep our energy clear and keep moving forward. And that's just generally out to everyone. Because this is a great time for us. I will say this. This time right here is powerful for us. And nothing should impede that from last era. Don't let last era's trauma and last era's baggage and issues, mess with your energy this time around. It's our time, So let's enjoy. All right. Are there any other comments, questions before we move to the one I wanted to show that letter? There's 2 letters that I wanted to show. There was also something else that I wanted to. Well, I didn't even have Islam Empress.
I just want to make sure I'm getting an echo myself. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hold on for just a moment. I'm going to mute the other lines that are so that we can hear Empress Shasha, and then you can star 6 and unmute. Empress Shasha, go ahead. No, you go ahead, Empress. Unmute your line, Empress Shasha. Just one moment.
What's going on here? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, wonderful. I just wanted to mention today's date. It's the 19th of the 1st, 2023. And it's interesting because today some very sort of weird, interesting things are happening in my yard. And, in numerology, today is a 9. And so I just wanted to mention that, because I don't think it's accidental that today is the day that was picked for this. Mm-hmm. And then I had another question, and I know Empress Rose had mentioned about the schools. The thing that really came into my mind was, yes, the schools. How will this be implemented in the schools? Because there's a program here called PAR, and I'm putting these in inverted commas because I know it's part of the corporation. And that was for those whom were, very low on the economic scale, and they'd fill out forms and supposedly get meals in school. So I was just wondering how it would be a similar sort of way where that household, is there an application, an actual form document, or how will it all be implemented, facilitated, and
so we will put an affidavit on the public record, for those who want to participate in the program, using your coupons, national coupons. But I will say this, it's not really necessary. They just need Delarium. If we agree, because remember when people, and I'm just thinking about the food stamp program, people didn't have to show anything when they were using food stamps. They would buy food stamps from other people and use them, So as long as you have them in your possession, you're entitled to them.
But you talked about having to declare your nationality. Your status must be correct, or at least declared. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So how do they tie in then? So then generally people have to show at least, it's like on the military base, you have to show your military ID when you're buying groceries. And then at the grocery store, you show an ID if you're writing a check or using some type of payment that's not, let's say, Swiss francs or United States dollars. So they'll just show an ID. But they'll have to get an ID, because the IDs that they have will be the corporation IDs, unless they, of course, have declared their nationality.
Yeah, they do. And here's the thing, they can make their Moorish IDs. They can make their state IDs.
Right.
So my state ID is actually a driver's license that has Washington on it, but I created it, I crafted it.
Right.
Because there's no one else authorized to craft it. And, unless it be another Moor, and they accept Delarium for it.
Right.
So, we're going to walk our way through the process and do it the same way they did, the foreigners did it when they came here. It'll all manifest.
So, really, because so many people are still asleep with regards to even our existence, authority, and all of those other things.
They'll wake up.
Yes, they will.
And I know for a fact that the more we demonstrate, the more they wake up around us.
Correct.
They always do. And then when you start talking about food, and the lack thereof of that other system.
That's the topic on people's mouths, lips right now anyway.
Yes.
The lack of it, and then it is there, the prices are, and of course we know it's fiat, but
Well, is it fiat now? Because I don't know. Some of those places don't even accept fiat, and the prices are still a little bit on the high side. But if we choose to use Delarium as the coupon, because it can be a coupon, it can be cash, it can be a check. Delarium it fits whatever we choose for it to fit.
The bill of exchange, is it not?
It's a bill of exchange. It's whatever we use it for. So if we choose to to use it for that, we can.
Okay. One more question, and I may have misheard, or the retail, the wholesale and retail food stores, did I hear you say they needed to be national stores?
They're going to have to be. And when I say nationalized, that means that the corporate covering needs to be moved off of them, and they need to be given notification.
Okay, that was I misheard, and you've just confirmed. Thank you. Yes.
Islam, yeah. And this is just in general for all Moors. The grocery stores are considered what is stated at the beginning of this law. It's called a normal channel for trade, as stated at the beginning of this law. And so with normal channels for trade, the thing about that is all of their other supply sources are drying up. They can't hardly get to anything because they were importing a lot of things. And so we're saying you don't have to import anything. Everything is right here on the land. You know, and so stores don't have, and corporations don't have a choice when it comes to nationalizing and naturalizing. They don't have a choice. A lien and notification and the Constitution put on the public record and a map showing where they are located, really, they don't have a choice.
Right.
We just do it. It's on Empress.
One other question, if I may.
Empress Shasha.
But an abundance of natural foods and natural food items. I'd like you to clarify, because in my mind, that's what comes from the earth and the trees and the natural. So
yes.
So how does that, because in these retail stores, you've got package this and package that, and you've got, so that distinction, the coupons can only be used for natural food.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Just like when they started programs such as Women, Infants, and Children, which is called WIC program back in the day. Yeah. They had the WIC program, and the WIC program, you could only get certain items. You could get cheese, milk, beans, eggs, and things of that nature. You could only get those items. And with ours, you can only get natural items. Now, the good news about the natural items is that all those ships that were waiting at the port to come in and bring things had natural items on them and have natural items on them. Because many, if you go out onto YouTube and you put in nations or governments that have banned genetically modified foods, you'll see that the list is very long. Many have done that. And so, or ones who've banned Monsanto from putting chemicals in their crops and things. You know, contrary to popular belief, not everybody bended a knee to that foreign mess.
Right.
Contrary to popular belief, there are people on this land right here that have been out of our purview. They are of our bloodline and birthright and have not changed a bit. They've always dealt in gold-backed currency. They never bended the knee. Never. This was an experiment. Remember that.
Yes.
The American experiment. And we were all party to it. Doesn't that sound Twilight Zone-ish?
Yes. Yes.
We would have had to consent because there's nobody who could put us in no experiment without our consent.
True. True.
And we might as well get used to being that powerful.
True.
Nothing happens unless we say. Yes, it's Islam Empress.
All related to being where I am. I do if I buy anything that's not in my yard, I buy it mostly from the local food sellers who are selling the yam and the banana. You know, is this program? Can they participate also?
Yes, and they've already been participating.
Okay. Okay.
But see, from their end, it's called subsidy.
I don't know.
From the vendor end, it's called a subsidy.
I don't know if that sort of thing exists.
They probably do exist. They exist. A subsidy, government, quote unquote government subsidies exist everywhere, especially places where you have people using anything other than fiat. If they accept anything other than fiat, then there's probably a government subsidy involved.
Okay.
Do you all have a food stamp program there?
The only thing I'm aware of, like I was explaining, was this Parse program, which is connected with the school. So I guess you're okay.
That's a quote unquote government subsidy, because see, another contrary to popular belief, no corporation would have survived without eating off of the Moors, who are the government. So they always did what they call public-private partnerships.
And that's what I'm putting up my inverted commas here, fingers, runs the place right now, as in everything's a public-private partnership. But the private is actually the corporation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's our point. Mm-hmm. That's the point. With them, see, in the background, they're getting 90-something% of their budget from the public treasury, but treating the public like the private and pulling from and saying you got to pay too.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And that's why we had to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Double
that's
ledger
why
booking.
This is so important.
What?
Yeah.
That's why this is so important.
Yeah.
And that's why the continuation of what we're doing is so important. Continuity of government in the favor of the public, the people. Because how are you going to get 95%, you paying everybody from the treasury and treating the people that's signing the checks, having policy enforcers come and take them and put them in jail because they didn't pay $2.75 to get on the bus. Get out of here.
Killing them for all kinds of...
For taking a banana out the grocery store, but you subsidizing all your paychecks.
Do you know they had a man here who, I think it was King's House, I think it's the Prime Minister's, and he took ackee from a tree that was growing in the yard or the ground and was jailed.
He was jailed for taking something from a tree?
Ackee from the tree, darling.
Wow. Wow. You know? Wow. Wow. Because the tree don't belong to him. The tree doesn't belong to him. He was in a public position acting as a private. Private is a military term.
Yeah.
Private is a military term.
Lowest rank.
And so all those talking about a private trust and all of that. And I won't go any further. And that wasn't even a good salute either. Believe that. Because especially if it's done under fraudulent fraud. Yeah. So, yeah. And the republic is them saying, please go back to the public. Yeah. That's what republic is all about. And they couldn't do it. We have to do it. That's why what we're doing is so important.
And it's very interesting because the one acting as the former custodian, acting as Prime Minister here, made an announcement, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, saying, giving permission for them to run and rush into making Jamaica a republic. I had to chuckle.
Well, that's because things done turned completely upside down in terms of that whole structure.
Yep. I mean, he has no authority. He doesn't exist anyway. So, but.
Well, nobody gets paid from that other thing. Because, see, what they were doing was they were running the public treasury through the corpse structure.
Right.
And when the people say no more of that, nobody in that structure gets paid using those routes, the routes that they used to get the fiat to them.
To them, right.
Those banking routes. Because then the banking routes, just like what the Empress was saying about people having things taken, those routes are not secure and they're corrupted. And the public routes are not corrupted.
And they're imploding like crazy. Right now they're utilizing Usain Bolt losing how many millions.
Yes, I heard about that. I think he had something like 40 or 50 million and end up losing all of that except for maybe 2.
Yeah, because I think he's down to, it was something. He's down to 15,000, and it was like billions Jamaican,
Yeah.
And he's only one. Of course, they putting him, and people are being purportedly arrested for fraud left, right, and center.
Islam.
Can
I get on this? Can I get in on this?
Yes, go ahead, Nobility.
This is Howard.
It's a wrap.
Peace and love to all the empresses. I'm listening. I'm in the background. This is Howard of Victor Lloydell. I'm in the land of flowers, Florida. In my travels, it is recent as well. I've seen the ports here, as well as our family members in California, just shut. And we're sort of, we connect, we talk, we communicate, we share information just like we're doing here. And just letting us know what's really going on, not the TV, not the fake corporate information. We talk to one another. So all the ships returned. In fact, maybe a year or two ago, so-called, quote-unquote, Governor DeSantis was trying to contract and get them to come from the West Coast and come here to Florida. That didn't happen.
No, I was about to say that's not happening.
I have friends who some have family in Jamaica, Venezuela, Brazil, Costa Rica, and other places, and we share information so we can see what's really going on in the various territories. So we also found out that I think it was Venezuela that really imploded maybe about a year ago, somewhere in there, and they were out burning their paper money because it's worthless.
Yeah.
So I was in the background listening to the food stamp program, and in 1970 I was 10, and I remember my mom said, "You and Earl go to the store, and here's the food stamps." And it wasn't signed. There was no signature on the food stamps at all. And we would just tear it off. Whatever they said, tear off. We would tear it off that amount, and we would just give it to them because it's currency.
Yeah.
And I love this DeLorean. I love the designs. I understand what you're talking about. Say all of its currency.
Yeah.
We the people are the currency. So how do we do this and how do we do that? It's going to manifest and unfold naturally because we're the natural living people.
Yeah.
So I yield the floor. I just want to, share that. Islam.
Yeah. Thank you, Nobility. Yeah, we already have everything we need, and it's already in place. All we have to do is demonstrate it. Really. All we have to do is demonstrate it. So, let me see. I'm looking at, now, I would like for us to go ahead and vote on two things. One is we need to just put it on the public record, those who whatever your vote may be, whether you say yay or nay, we need to hear both. The approval or disapproval for this food stamp, this National Food Programs Law, National Food Stamp Programs Law. So if we could, I will, let's just go ahead and vote like we normally do. All in favor of this food stamp, the National Food Stamp Program Law and the food stamp program, please express in favor or otherwise. State your appellation and your territory and your vote. And if we need to, we'll go down. I think I probably want to just go down the list here because it's quite a few of us on here. Let me just go down the list. Ronnie Graham, if you would state. Just one moment. Let me see. Justice Ronnie Graham. Justice Ronnie, did you want to vote? And he may or may not be able to say anything. Okay, there's a number here ending in 1048. State your appellation and your vote. Just one moment. Okay, there's a number ending in the last 4294. If you would, *6 and state your appellation and your vote.
Sharice Reed L. I vote for
Islam. Thank you. Thank you. There is a number ending in 1875. If you would state your appellation and your vote. Just a moment. 1875. 66. Let me see. 1875. Okay. Just
Empress Helen Jean Crowder L. Mississippi
Yes.
Territory. I affirm.
Thank you, Empress. I didn't know that was your number there. Okay. All right. Thank you. Justice Lloyd Howard L. If you would, *6 so that we can receive your vote on the record.
Islam, Florida Territory, Howard Victus Lloyd L.
And your vote, yay or nay?
Yay. Yay, yay, yay.
Islam. Thank you, Nobility.
Islam. Thank you.
Okay. Empress Nabi.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Texas Territory, yay. A.G. Nabi, Chandra Bay, Mahat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Justice Amos, Allah Hotep Bey.
My vote is yay.
Islam. Thank you, nobility.
Islam.
Empress Angel.
Islam. Angelica Yvette Dobbs Bay, New York Territory. Yay.
Islam. Thank you. And I'm going to mute the lines that are not voting at this time. Please don't take that personally. We just want to make sure everybody's vote is heard. Thank you. Okay.
Islam.
Islam. Yes.
Peace and love. Kahusia, Jehuti, Ba'in, Will.i.am, Shu'el, Manhattan Territory. Yay.
Islam. Thank you. Thank you so much, nobility. Okay. And let's see. There is there's someone who is they came in as anonymous. It's Wrestler 1959.
I am Earl Julian Lloyd L.
If you could speak up just a little bit, nobility, so we can hear you.
Lloyd L. Kentucky Republic, and I am in agreement. Yay.
Thank you, nobility. We appreciate that. Islam.
Islam.
Okay. Empress Anawa Ahawi Bay, Islam.
Islam, Anawa Ahawi Bay, Florida Territory. I affirm.
Islam. Great to hear your voice. Thank you, Empress. Okay. And
Jonas Bay.
Asadullah. Oh,
Islam.
Islam.
Rashid El Asadullah Bay, New York Territory. I affirm.
Yes, Islam. Thank you, nobility. Empress Aisha Bay. If you could, star 6, please. Empress Aisha. Empress Aisha, your vote.
Empress Aisha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Empress.
Empress Aisha, Bay, Michigan.
Yes, we can hear you.
Michigan, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I affirm.
Islam. Thank you, Empress. Thank you. Okay, Empress Carolyn Linda Wiggins L. Islam.
Carolyn Linda Wiggins L. Yay, Alabama Territory.
Thank you, Empress. Empress Chitali. Empress Chitali, your vote.
We went from here to here to here to here again. We don't feel like but he missed it.
We can't hear you, Empress Chitali. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. I hear something in the background, but I can't hear you. Okay. Empress Cynthia Ann Bay.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Justice Cynthia Ann Bay, Califia Territory, Grand Rising Moors. Islam.
Grand Rising, your vote?
And it's yes. Yay.
Oh, Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Thank you.
Thank you, Empress. Justice Darius L.
Justice Darius, South Carolina Territory, me and my consort, double yay.
Islam. Thank you, nobility.
Islam.
Justice Dawood Bey. Let's see. Justice Dawood Bey. You can *6, Justice Dawood. It's Justice Dawood Simone Bey. Okay. Justice Dawood Abdullah Bey.
Justice Dawood Abdullah Bey, land of Nod, Swampomac Territory. Yay.
Islam. Thank you, nobility.
Islam.
Empress Camellia L.
Empress Camellia L. Alabama Territory, yay.
Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Islam.
Empress Shea Marie.
Yes, this is Empress Shea Marie Bay from Michigan Territory. I approve and affirm.
Yes, Islam. Thank you. Justice Ephraim El Yassin Bey.
Texas Territory, yeah.
Islam. Thank you.
California, yay.
Is that Empress Shatali?
This is Empress Shatali.
Okay, so for some reason we can barely hear you, but I hear you. I hear you.
Yes, yay.
Her vote is yay. Okay, Islam. Justice Gregory Flint Wiggins.
Gregory Wiggins L, Alabama Territory. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. Justice Azim Kambulani Bey. Islam. Justice Azim, your vote. Okay, we'll come back to Justice Azim. He's usually... Okay. Are you there, Justice Azim? Okay. And then there's someone with just a J. I'm not sure. Okay, Empress Karima?
Islam.
Yes, Empress Karima.
I'm Karima Bey, Governing Justice, Consul, Vizier, Fiduciary Executive at Virginia. Yay.
Yes, you are all of that and more. Islam.
Islam.
Thank you, Empress. There's someone with a J. I believe they've opened their microphone.
Yes. Islam.
Islam.
Jamelia Nut Bey from the UK territory, and I vote in agreement.
Yes, thank you, Empress. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Islam.
Islam.
Justice Kansu. Justice Kansu, your vote. He may or may. Justice Kansu? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. I see your microphone open. We cannot hear you if you're speaking, Justice Kansu. His microphone did come open. Okay. We will come back to you, Justice Kansu. Justice Malik Akil Bey.
Islam. Justice Malik Akil Bey, Illinois Territories. Yay.
Thank you, nobility. Islam. Justice Maurice Lloyd L.
Islam. Alabama Territory. Yay.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. Justice Michael Dumois McGee Bay. Islam, nobility. Thank you, nobility. Islam. Justice Morpheus Pascal Ham Freeman L.
Yes, this is Morpheus Pascal Freeman L. Maryland Territory.
Is that a yay, nobility? Yes, we can hear you.
Yay.
Islam. Islam. Thank you, nobility. Justice Musa Jubei.
Musa Jubei, Tennessee Territory. Yay.
Thank you, nobility. There's someone with a restricted number, anonymous restricted number. I believe that might be Empress. Why not? Okay. Islam.
That's just my other line. This is Empress Nabi.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Empress Nabi. Empress Rosetta.
Empress Rosetta, California Republic. Yay.
Islam. Thank you, Empress. Empress Shasha Ann Bay. Oh, Empress Justice Kansu. Yes. We can hear you, Justice Kansu. Justice Kansu? Are you there? Okay, Empress Shasha?
Shasha Anbe, Jamaica Republic says yay, yay, yay.
Islam, raise the roof, Jamaica. Justice Kansu, I heard you say something. And I can't hear you now. It's registering something, but we can't hear you. Okay. Sheikh Klein Bay.
Islam.
Sheikh
Klein Bay. Toronto, Carolinas. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. Empress Tiffany.
Islam.
It's
Tiffany Renee Harris Bay. Yay.
Islam. Thank you, Empress. Justice Tonis Bay. Justice Tonis. *6, if you're saying something, we can't hear you.
Islam, Justice Toners, Alajal Bay, Khalifa Territories. Yay.
Thank you, nobility.
Thank you, Empress. Thanks for
Islam.
all you do.
Thank you. Justice Travis Bay.
Travis Nair Abdulaziz Bay, Michigan Territory and land. Yay.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. Empress, why not?
Oh, yeah. Islam, Wainan Prince Bay, Canaan land.
And your vote?
Oh, yeah.
Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Okay.
Justice Willie Irvin Bay. Justice Willie. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. You may want to *6. Justice Willie Smith Bay, are you there? I see your line. Justice Willie, let's see. It is not, okay, let's go back to Justice Kansu. Justice Kansu, your line is open, so I'm not sure. Justice Kansu, are you there? Just one moment. Let's see if I can get his vote. Are you there, Justice Kansu? I heard your voice, and I want to make sure we get your vote. If you could put it in the chat. Let's see. It might already be in the chat. Let's see. Okay, yes. Justice Kansu has placed his vote in the chat, and just one moment. He did vote affirmatively, and I apologize that the chat was not open. Allow participants to message other participants. Okay. You all should be able to Islam. Let's see. Oh, okay, no wonder. Just a moment. Okay. So we do have a unanimous vote on this particular national, the National Food Stamp Program Law of 2023. And again, this is not, at this point, it is not income-based. We will revisit that probably in March or April timeframe, depending on how the program goes. We will revisit the income levels and things, just depending on how the program goes up to that point. And then if we don't have to make any changes, we won't make any changes to it. So let's see. Yeah, you know what? We want people to be able to chat. Okay. So we do have a unanimous. Now, is everyone, are there any objections to using Delarium as the conveyance method for this program? Are there any objections to that? Since everyone already has them, and of course I am going to make the case for Delarium because it's so readily available. Are there any objections to using Delarium for this program?
I agree. Justice
Islam.
Cynthia Ann Bay.
Thank you, Empress. All those in favor state that you are in favor, and all those who oppose state that you oppose.
Islam. Minus Prince Karima Bay. I affirm.
Rosette
Hill. I affirm.
Travis Bay, I affirm.
Islam.
House Bay, I affirm.
Aisha,
House.
affirm.
Affirmative.
She
Let me see
outclaimed.
the affirmations.
Nabi, I affirm.
Thank you, Sheikh Islam. Thank you.
Islam, Angelica. Islam. Okay.
Empress Angelica first, and then the noble.
Islam, Angelica Yvette Dobbs Bay, I affirm.
Islam and noble.
Howard of Big Door Lloyd L, Florida Territory, I affirm.
Islam, thank you.
Islam.
Kahusia Jehuti by N. Will.I.am Shuel, Manhattan Territory, I affirm.
Islam, thank you, nobility.
Islam Wainan Prince Bay, Canaan Land, I affirm.
Islam.
Islam, Earl Julian Lloyd.
And we see.
I affirm.
Yes, Islam, thank you, nobility. And we do see the many affirmations in the chat. Islam.
Islam, Musa Jubei, I affirm.
Islam.
She outclaimed that.
Islam. Islam.
Islam. Helen Crowder. Empress Helen Crowder, L, Mississippi Territory.
Thank you.
I affirm.
Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Islam.
Islam, Justice Kansu.
Okay. Islam was consultative and play. Territory. Yeah. Did you get that? Did you impress?
Yes, we have it. We got it, Justice Kansu. Islam, thank you. Islam, thank you for your persistence. I see there's a little bit of feedback coming on from over there. Let's. Islam.
I had a problem on the computer, so I said, let me get myself on the phone, so maybe that's why I'm getting feedback to the computer.
Yes, Islam. I saw that you called, so I said I better open the meeting up too. So we do have a unanimous vote. With that being stated, down here at the bottom, as we place this on the public record in this Congress assembled this 19th day for January 2023, this affidavit is hereby approved and is the law.
Islam Empress?
As affirmed, yes.
This is Ronnie L. Bay, Florida Territory.
Yes, we were looking for you, yes.
I had a problem unmuting. I just had to call back and try again. I'm having yay for both.
Pauline about her Land Rover that she never got. Ask Pauline about her Land Rover.
And make sure that you can, go ahead, just one moment, Justice Ronnie. Go ahead, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yay for both questions. Hello?
You yay for both? Go ahead, Justice Ronnie.
Yes for both.
Okay, thank you so much. We're glad to hear your vote.
Yeah, I always have a problem unmuting. I don't know why. So, okay, Islam.
Every vote counts. Islam. Justice Azim, is that you?
This is Azim. Sorry about that. Having trouble with my phone.
Yes.
Yay on both accounts.
Thank you. Islam. Thank you.
Islam.
Beautiful. So, yes, we do have a unanimously affirmed vote, which I just love. Did you all know that when we do this, that our unity is just on full display? We don't necessarily need a unanimous vote because, the majority will vote. But the fact that we have that and we've had it this many times is just amazing. Because y'all know they said that those brown-skinned folk wasn't supposed to get along. You see, we wasn't supposed to agree on anything. And here we are, just week after week after week agreeing. What? Y'all must be awake. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. This is what government is. This is what nation is. This is what unity is. I won't ever let anyone say that we're not unified. I will not let. In the past, I wouldn't even let anybody get away with that, but I certainly won't let them get away with it now. Islam. We've broken all types of unity records. A lot. So for that, I am just so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. So with that being stated, there was a couple of other things that I wanted to affidavit is hereby approved and is the law as affirmed unanimously this day and nunc pro tunc Islam. Okay, and we will place this under the video on. Oh boy, they are really mad, and that one there is really mad. He is really mad. Look at all of that stuff they put in the chat. That's really mad. And we don't, we send peace and love to you. Just angry. They used to say we were the ones who were angry and bitter and la 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 la. No, we're good. We're good. We're all right. We're doing fine. We're good. So Islam nobility.
When gods are doing work, you always need a witness. He's our witness. He's our witness to testify and give testimony to his people for the great work we are doing.
Yes,
Islam.
indeed. And everything that's put there is an affirmation that this works. So with that being stated, I wanted to bring forth here, let me go back to our original, a couple of other things. We did say that we were going to put the letter by the subjects. We wanted to do that, put the letter by the subjects on the list. And I would say this more is about all that is going on with us. 2, the ancestors wanted to see our sincerity on us being together and staying together before before all of the conveyances and domiciles and wealth and all of that, because the wealth is already ours, all that stuff is already ours. But our ancestors wanted to see, will they unify? Because see, that stuff, if you're not unified before that stuff, you're really not going to be unified after. But unity is something that is established long before, in our case, it's not even long before. We've been unified now for years on these calls. Unified for years on these calls, and we're not stopping. We're going to keep going. So, a lot of times the court jesters will put things out there. Oh, this hasn't done that. Our ancestors know what they're doing. They want to make sure that before, because imagine if we all got, or just think about when and visualize when all of that stuff manifests You know, we still want to come together. We still want to be coming together. We still want to be governing. We want to do what it took to get us there to stay there. And that's what our ancestors are looking for, is will they continue? Continuity of government is real, because you know what? Our ancestors have been governing this whole time, this whole time, and they want us to step up so they can maybe kick back for 1,000 years or so and relax a little bit, you know. So it's all good. It's all good. We got this. So with that being stated, there's a noise coming from one of the other lines. I'm going to go ahead and mute it, but you can star 6. So I wanted to show this letter, and I thought that I put a link to it on the paper, but I guess I did not. So I'll just go to the internet and pull it up. And the reason that this letter is important for us to just take a quick look at, and again, it's an enactment. They're not the real Treasury. We're the real Treasury, and they know that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. But I wanted us to take a look at this letter. This is the wording of the letter, but I want to pull up a text, a PDF version of the letter. Because we are going to do something similar to this, and really all they're doing is enacting to each other and telling each other what's going on. They're not talking to us. We don't need them to talk to us. They have to inform each other. I'll point just a few things out. So this is a letter from the subject, Janet Yellen, and it's to Kevin McCarthy, the subject in the office of Speaker of the House. Okay, he's a custodian in that office. And that office belongs to the Moores. So, it says Public Law 117-73 increased the statutory debt limit to approximately $31.381 trillion on December 16, 2021. As you know, the debt limit is the total amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations, including Social Security, Medicare benefits, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments. I am writing to inform you that beginning on Thursday, January 19th, the outstanding debt of the United States, and again, that's the debtors, that is projected to reach the statutory limit, and that's January 19th. Once the limit is reached, Treasury, not the Department of the Treasury, because that's the debtors, okay? So they didn't say the Department of Treasury. They said once the limit is reached, Treasury will need to start taking certain extraordinary measures to prevent the United States from defaulting on its obligations. And when they say United States in one sentence and then United States in another sentence, they are generally talking about two different United States, but they can't say that. We're supposed to know that. In other words, they're saying the books need to be balanced. The books need to be balanced. It says the two extraordinary measures Treasury anticipates implementing this month are redeeming existing and suspending new investments of the Civil Service Retirement and Disability Fund and the Postal Service Retiree Health Benefits Postal Fund. And number 2, suspending reinvestment of the Government Securities Investment Fund, the G Fund, of the Federal Employees Retirement System Thrift Savings Plan. And that G Fund, we told you what the G Fund was. The G Fund is from our perspective, from the creditor perspective, the G Fund is the fund that is with the Universal Postal Union. Excuse me, the Universal Postal Union. That's where that G Fund comes from. Of the Federal Employees Retirement System Thrift Savings Plan, Congress has expressly provided Treasury with authority to take these actions. And prior Treasury secretaries have used these measures, which will reduce the amount of outstanding debt subject to the limit and temporarily provide additional capacity for Treasury to continue financing the operations of the federal government. So what's being stated here is that no, that Treasury is not raising any debt limit or suspending anything. What Treasury is doing is reducing the amount of outstanding debt subject to the limit and temporarily providing additional capacity for government to continue. We don't deal with debt, we deal with credit. And so when it comes to things like this, our actions in using the credit is when they look at that, they reduce their debt. They do it. They handle their debt. We handle the credit. It says after the debt limit impasse has ended, the CSRDF, Postal Fund, and G Fund will be made whole. They cannot make it whole. They can't make anything whole. We make everything whole. They are departments. That's why they use the word department instead of ministry. Because department means parts. It's parts here and parts there. They can't make anything whole. It says presidents and Treasury secretaries of both parties have made clear that the government must not default on any obligation of the United States, and has noted Treasury secretaries in every administration over recent decades have used these extraordinary measures when necessary. Yet the use of extraordinary measures enables the government to meet its obligations for only a limited amount of time. It is therefore critical that Congress act in a timely manner to increase or suspend the debt limit. Failure to meet the government's obligations would cause irreparable harm to the U.S. economy, the livelihoods of Americans, and global financial stability. Indeed, in the past, even threats that the U.S. government might fail to meet its obligations have caused real harms, including the only credit rating downgrade in the history of our nation in 2011. And that was for them, not us. Increasing or suspending the debt limit does not authorize new spending commitments or cost taxpayers money. It simply allows the government to finance existing legal obligations that Congresses and presidents of both parties have made in the past. The period of time that extraordinary measures may last is subject to considerable uncertainty due to a variety of factors, including the challenges of forecasting the payments and receipts of the U.S. government months into the future. Payments and receipts of the U.S. government, and that's government with a lowercase g, months into the future. While Treasury is not currently able to provide an estimate of how long extraordinary measures will enable us to continue to pay the government's obligations, it is unlikely that cash and extraordinary measures will be exhausted before early June. Consistent with past practice, I will, of course, continue to keep Congress informed as we approach the exhaustion of our resources. So they're keeping the Congress informed and the Treasury informed as they approach the exhaustion of their resources. And their resources are already exhausted. We know that. I respectfully, and she says she respectfully urges Congress to act promptly to protect the full faith and credit of the United States. The reason I wanted to bring this to the forefront yet again is because they say full faith and credit, we say full faith and trust. It is the trust that actually is the credit. That's the credit. For us is the trust. The trusts are all connected. And as we stated before, the Social Security number, and not theirs, the ones that we create, the sovereign security numbers and the state security numbers that we create, and the National Banking Association are in trust. And the National Banking Association is in trust with all other entities on the credit on this side over here, such as the national, anything that we appropriate, the National Banking Association, the Treasury, and the things that we use, the conveyance methods that we use are all in trust. Even Delarium is in trust with the Treasury because it is a manifestation of the Treasury, one of many manifestations of the Treasury. So when we, as we continue to appropriate, that's in Article 1 of the Constitution. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution talks about appropriations. And they say you can't get to the Treasury except by appropriations by the law. So we have to vote things into law. Then we can use the Treasury. And see, knowing these processes is the difference between us running around on this land yelling that we're the heirs and not getting any results, as opposed to us doing the proper processes and then demonstrating our status and giving proper due process and notification. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. They were using quote unquote full faith and credit. We use full faith and trust, and we can put credit in there too because it means what we say it means. With that being stated, there was another letter that was put out by the subject Joe Biden, and this letter, and we'll be restating these things as we go along over the next few days and weeks. We'll be restating them, but I wanted to show you that they know that they're already stepping out of the way. All they're saying is there's nothing else that they can do unless Congress, the real Congress, speaks. And then this, Joe Biden put something out there on the public record called the Declaration of North America, or DNA. And all this does is it states that North America is Mexico and Canada and all that part. And that it's talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, climate change and environment, competitiveness, migration and development, health, and regional security. So we're going to be restating this also. But look here very carefully at some of the wording and the language that they use. He says here, our people share bonds of family and friendship and value above all else. Freedom, justice, human rights, equality, and democracy. This is the North American DNA. When they talk about bonds, this is a financial document. Make no mistake about it. When they start talking about all of these wonderful ideals that just give everybody warm fuzzies, that's actually not what they're doing. They're actually trying to protect themselves, which they can't really do. We have to protect all subjects. And so, of course, they put a lot of emphasis in this document on indigenous-led growth, indigenous women, and things of that nature. Where climate change is concerned, again, climate change has everything to do with the land. The word climate does not mean weather only. It means land. Climate change is they want to know where they're going to be, so they always mention the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is a part of the Treaty of Paris, 1783 and 1786. You may want to go back and give a look at that, because that's where they're hanging their hat in many instances. Okay, but those if they're not done by the Moors, they don't have any validity at all whatsoever. Okay, so we're going to be restating these so that we put it on the public record in its proper status. Of course, yes, Imbrashasha says that it has democracy in it. We're gonna be restating all of that and changing the language, because we know, and what this is essentially too is a removal of all borders. Okay, and we didn't implement any political borders like that. You know, we didn't implement any. So all they're doing is doing what we have commanded and putting it and letting their Masonic brethren, quote unquote, know that there are no borders, because the Moors said that there are no borders. And so we always say that North America is North, South, Central America and the adjoining islands, and all of the Western Hemisphere, but really the United States is the whole earth. We're all the states united. And that's why that the actors that were pretending to be us would go all everywhere, and just cut up and act crazy, because they were enacting the fact that everyone knows that the United States is the whole earth. It's the states united. States united, but only when done by the creditor United States, not any debtors. Okay, so, and we are the ancient States United, the ancient States United. Empress Rosetta says, I don't see Puerto Rico where they moved their unlawful service corporations. That's part of North America. Puerto Rico is part of North America. So, one or two things I wanted to show you really quickly before we adjourn. Some things that I came across. There is with regard to our post office government mailing process, because we did get some questions about that, and some wanted to know where we got our stamps from. Empress Shasha and Justice Kansu and the Moors that are at the other territories, this is going to be key for you when you're as you're mailing your documents and things. And I'm putting the link to this in the chat. This is the U.S. Postal Service website, and this is where the stamps, those stamps were designed. They reference indicia format. You all are going to want to, because see, and again, what we're doing is showing you that the mailing process that we use is universal. So that process should be honored everywhere. Islam.
Just to clarify, when you say universal, you do mean...
Can you speak up just a little bit, Nobility? For some reason, it sounds really low.
Are you able to hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Let me come off of this earphone. Just a second. Can you hear me now?
That's so much better. That is so much better.
Okay.
When you say universal, just to clarify, you're meaning international. The same process can be utilized to international mail as well.
Yes. Or domestic, as well.
Okay. Islam.
These here are more domestic ones, but again, we use the G10 trust account. We use the G10 trust account. So we can design these any way we want to design them, Morris, just so that you are aware of, here is first class package, international service, U.S. postage paid, permit number 1, and that's just an example. I did look up the different permits, but they didn't give a real clear outline of what each permit was. But I have a feeling that we're in the process of, once we put it on the public record, that's what it is. And we've put U.S. permit 10, G10 on the public record. So it's been working for us for years, our mailing process. So this is where that came from. And you all can do the research on this and look it up if you choose to do so that you can get a good overstanding and a good grasp, knowing that there are many G fund accounts. And the letter that we just read from the subject, Janet Yellen, mentioned G fund accounts. G means just government accounts. Okay. So with that being stated, I wanted to show you one or two other, in the postal, in that whole postal situation, generally when you find anything about nationals, it's going to be the last place you would think to look. So I wanted to know about, where are nationals mentioned in the Postal Service regulations? Well, they're really not mentioned because they knew that they're not nationals. We actually have to write ourselves in. The same way they wrote themselves in, we have to write ourselves in. It says here, this is Regulation 512, prohibited designations, specially designated nationals, and blocked persons. And they have stuff on restricted designations such as Cuba, Iran, Korea, etc. Blocked persons, they have some things going on here, but they skipped clean over specially designated nationals. It's stated there, it's named there, but they didn't put anything about specially designated nationals on this page, which told me that whenever I see anything like that, we have to actually put it on the public record about specially designated nationals, however we choose to state that, and then it's the law. And then we proceed in doing our mail business as we've stated. Okay. Justice Malika Keel, postal banking is all we do. We don't even go to the post office if we don't have a deposit. Every mail piece that we send is a deposit, and it goes into a deposit box. So postmasters general are judges too. Judges are everywhere. That's why we keep our judge turbans and fezzes on at all times. Because all over our land, those offices, every last one of them were behaving as judges when we're the real judges. Grocery store or not. Islam, nobility.
I was thinking about putting the seals on my envelope.
I would not do that, only because you can do it, and I would actually like to see what happens when you do it. The last time I did that was when I was before we implemented our mailing process, and it was on some envelopes that were oversized, and so they brought them all back and returned them. And this was back in 2017, somewhere right, before the ancestors said no, you put the process on the public record and it will be honored. Because we hadn't stated anything.
Is this to the post office deposit? They returned the envelopes.
They returned them from the deposit. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you.
But I have not done that since we implemented our mailing process. I've not put any of our gold seals on the outside since we implemented our mailing process. So I don't see why it would stop anything though.
I'm gonna test trial it. Islam.
Let us know what happened. I love it when Moors do their lab work. I love that.
Yes.
Let us know. Keep us posted.
Yes, Islam. I surely will.
I place I place the Great Seal on all my envelopes, and they go wherever I tell them to go. So I don't know what seal you're talking about, but I put the Great Seal on the bottom left-hand side, and I put the Moorish Office of the National on the right-hand bottom side and my thumbprint. And then the mailing label on the top right, and then hold on a second. Morocco, Empire State of Morocco, and the whole address with national area code, latitude, longitude, and the address. So that's all goes on my envelope. They go wherever I tell it to go. You never get sent back.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I didn't know what seal you was talking about.
Yes. All the seals, Islam.
Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't go. I know why mine didn't go back in 2017, and that was when I first woke up. Mine didn't go back then because I was using the wrong mailing process to get things going. And I put the seal on there hoping that it would go through, and they brought them all back. And I think I might have even posted about that on social media at the time, back in 2017, before we did it. But if I put it on there now, it don't matter what I put on mine now. They go where they're supposed to go. And I've shown the Moors that they get them back to us even when we put our stuff in ancient English. When we put it in red and all lowercase letters, they don't even care. They make sure it get back to this, to this consulate here. So, I don't see why it wouldn't go. That's great research. I can't wait to hear the outcome. One other thing I wanted to show you all, to share with you, is me and one of the other empresses were doing some study this week, and she pointed me to a book called Cracking the Code. I believe it's by Maxwell Jordan, Cracking the Code. That's the book where a lot of people have crafted their own processes by reading this book. But I wanted to point something out to you that I saw in the book about what we say. On page 446, I believe it is, of that book, and I'll put the link to the book in the chat. Here, let me put this link in here. So that you can, I believe it's page 448. There. And that this link will also be under the video here. We have been talking about, and this is for those who who have had issues with the quote unquote IRS. We know we're the real IRS, so and we've already put that on the public record. But this is what was stated on that page. It says, and they had it just like you see it on the screen in red writing. They put this in red. It says, and I'll just start right here. A sworn affidavit that simply verifies all balance due, cites that correct billing procedures were followed, and other such poppycock is irrelevant. The debt collector must verify the consideration or substance provided the alleged debtor that validates the debt collector's claim of debt. Since the alleged debtor received no consideration from the debt collector and likewise from the original creditor, and we're the original creditors of all things, it says the debt collector is foreclosed from truthfully claiming such in a sworn affidavit. This is the part I wanted us to see, this is why IRS, quote unquote, prosecutes for failure to file an income tax return. A sworn Form 1040 is a validation of the debt. IRS is a debt collection agency. IRS cannot substantiate any debt unless IRS has a sworn statement from the taxpayer that validates the debt. And this is why we say terminate all corporate contracts by affidavit, but do it by government affidavit, Moorish government affidavit. And this book was, everyone knows that it's what we say, it's what we write, it's what we speak. Okay? And that's why the pen is mightier than the sword. You can't even, the pen actually is the sword. It says here, as cited above, banks do not loan substance. They only loan credit, which is air. And our credit is actually holy breath, but that's a subject for later. It says no third-party debt collector, attorney, and no other debt collector has any knowledge of a loan of substance or valuable consideration. Hence, such are foreclosed from issuing a counter affidavit of any relevance. The system is fraudulent by nature and cannot be made legitimate by a false affidavit. The truth is the only one who can validate a debt is the borrower. You, Moors, are the only ones that can have them coming after you for some debt because you have to swear by affidavit or their forms. Because, see, they consider their forms affidavits when they're really not. It's an affidavit until there's a rebuttal affidavit. And that's why we speak by affidavit first. Then we put our forms out there that we've restructured. See, they don't have any say over our forms. They just have to do what our forms tell them to do. And when I say they, I mean the system, not any foreign third-party interlopers. We forward our affidavits, and then we reconstruct the form, and we forward that with our affidavit, and the system will do as commanded. So with that being stated, that is all we have for this particular Congressional Assembly, I believe. Let me see. Oh, one other thing really quickly. The Parse Syntax stuff where people will put their last name and then they'll put a colon and then a hyphen and a first name and surname and a hyphen and all of that, and then they jump 3 times and run around the block and all of that. That stuff that they call Parse Syntax. I want to show you really quickly where that really actually comes from. Because, see, I've watched those videos, and not one time did they say where they actually got that stuff from. They act like some fairy came out the sky and bestowed this information on them when that's not where it came from. So, Parse Syntax comes from amalgamated international and U.S. inland navigation rules. Now, let me show you where that's at. And this is just some of the Parse Syntax. But what they're trying to do, and this is why I say, Moors, we don't have to use that stuff. We're sovereign. We don't have to use Parse Syntax. But for the Moors who choose to use it, you can, because you're sovereign. You can do what you want to do. Nobody can tell the Moors what to do. But if you look here, curly brackets denote U.S. Coast Guard annotations. That means they're trying to navigate the high seas when really they're lost at sea. Single line frame. So these are the curly brackets that they have right here on the screen. Curly brackets such as these denote U.S. Coast Guard annotations. Look here, double angle brackets denote inland rules. That means you're inland, that you're inland from out sea when you put when they do it. We're on the land at all times. We're not inland, we're on the land. And this is their way of trying. Single angle brackets denote international rules. So this is not a box, this is single angle brackets right there. Double line frames denote dissimilar sections within the rules, i.e. Rules 1, and this is a double line frame, this parentheses with a minus sign in it and something next to it and all of that. Glyphs such as this subsection glyph and this line that separates, and I wondered about this line right here because I see it often, are used to redact the terms of a paragraph, section, or subsection, i.e. subsection X and subsection Y. It's used to redact the terms of the paragraph, or as a divider of differing section numbers. So this subsection 1 is dividing sections B and section 2. The form of parentheses here, in, and then you put the line with or of this chapter, subpart, etc., is redacted. Now, for us, the word redacted is not redacted. The word is redacted. That means us acting something out. Redacted. That's why we don't need to use them. Okay, so this is where they get their Parse Syntax, and there's so many more than just these. Okay, there's many more, but Parse Syntax is them trying to navigate the high seas when they're really lost at sea. And why do I say they're lost at sea? Because they're using corporate capitalism. They haven't come out of that corporate capitalism piece. There's only two places. You have two options: stay into dead corporate capitalism or stay in living capitalism, which is a choice for us. We can use capitalism or not use it, and we can do that however we choose to do it. And that's why once we are fiduciary, trustee, attorney in fact of all letters, all numbers, all colors of ink, and all of that, once we know that we're fiduciaries of that, it doesn't matter what contract you put it on, as long as you created the contract, because you're creating the letters, you're creating the numbers, you're creating the color of ink and everything. That is what commands the contracts. And then you stay within your jurisdiction in terms of you don't contract with the dead. You raise them from the dead and then send your commands by affidavit. Because when you're speaking by affidavit, that means you're speaking to a subject if you're sending it outside of your nation. And it's not really outside of your nation. The subjects are in our nation, but you're speaking to the system with those affidavits. And then we send affidavits to each other just because we want to formalize something or make it, a bilateral agreement between us, et cetera, et cetera. So, for those who were wondering about that Parse Syntax, because we've been asked about it previously, it's just amalgamated. And how many times have we used that word? Don't tell me they don't know who they are. Don't tell me that they know who they are. That's why they're using that. But they weren't going to show you that. They were going to act like it was just some, a wizardry system that they came up with out of nowhere. And they're so smart and they thought of this system. No, we said that until the Moors wake up. Islam.
So would you say that since they're hypothecators anyway, that they would try to have to build something more corrupt to try to throw the Moors off, even if we're looking at it from another point of view?
I would say that, see, they know they can't throw the Moors off. They knew the minute we woke up, we were going to know everything. You know, and in our nation, we do know everything. So their job was to try and stay afloat and pretend like they're in control of things until we could wake up. All they were doing was just trying to stay afloat and make the other, you know, quote unquote nations think that they're in control of something. They knew that, see, they've always known that they don't have any control over the Moors, and that the moment we open our eyes just a little bit, that it was over. So all they were doing was really acting and trying to stay afloat. But see, if you don't know that, you will think that they can just run around rampant and do whatever they want to do. They can't. They can't when we use our own words and speak our own language. And that's why we say what we say about the fiduciary document. You take control of your own capitalism, of your own letters patent, of your own color of ink. And you say, I'm the fiduciary for anything I write. I'm the attorney in fact. I'm the author and the finisher of it. And it belongs to me. And if you write something back, if a foreign fake, you know, corpse writes something, they can write something that looks almost exactly like what you wrote, and it won't mean a thing to you. Because they never had any authority over us anyway. We just needed to remember the principles by which they have no authority over us. And that's what all of this that we've been doing is about. Is remembering the principles. So, you know, a lot of times people, you know, will feel that it's us against them. No, it's not. They know who they are. There's no fight. This is not a war. It would be absolutely ludicrous for our creation to try and fight the Creator. We already know what we put in them. And our courts are the key word. I know that firsthand, and many of you do too. So there's no fight between us. There's no. Their job was to wake us up, or assist us in waking ourselves up, rather. Because we all set the timer before we got here, and we said at 38 years old, I'm going to wake up. At 45 years old, I'm going to wake up. At 22, I'm going to wake up. And then they're going to push you around a little bit and shake you a little bit, and you'll wake up the rest of the way. And remember. You'll wake up and remember. So, all right, with that being stated, are there any other questions, comments? I would say this more. This is my one. I'm gonna send out so much energy for this piece right here because it means so much to me. I would love for everyone to just know that we're not that this is not a fight. Those hybrids, they're not even trying to fight us because it's not a fight. There's no fight. All we have to do is keep being about our mother's business. And just when it comes time to demonstrate, just stand. Just stand. That's all we have to do is stand.
Islam.
Islam.
I have I guess a question or a little, and I know everything that I'm doing, and every little obstacle is a test in my own written test.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that on Monday of this week, somebody pulled down my flag, broke it off the pole, tore it up and flung it down at my gate.
Mm-hmm.
I put another one back up.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's interesting the types of tests that are coming.
Yeah.
That one just doesn't make sense.
Okay, so whatever your emotional reaction to the test is when you see things like that, whatever that is, look at it carefully, whatever your emotion, whatever it is, and I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, take a look at that energy that you feel when you see something like that and master it.
Okay, so when I saw it, I was going out my back gate, and everything Spirit had been saying, go out your back gate to go to the beach, to go walk along the beach. And I didn't do it the day before, and then Monday I did. Yeah. And I don't take my phone or anything with me when I'm going to the sea. And I just saw it, and I actually chuckled. It was kind of like, oh, my.
Yeah.
What a mighty woman I am.
Yeah.
And I went back and I got my phone and because I'm just posting things on the public record because that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and got my phone and I took a little, and I made another one and put it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely, it just really said to me, wow. This energy wants certain, you know, I'm not moving. That's what it said to me.
Yeah.
I'm standing, I'm here, and carry on.
I have a question. Are you sure it wasn't the wind? Could it have been the wind?
I'm absolutely 100%, 50 million %. I put the flag actually up after Iris was murdered, and the flag, the first one I put up, I mean, I literally kind of crawled and stuck it up there, and I instantly felt a sense of protection.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And then I added some more, and that's been up since we've had, you know, hurricane, what do they call it, tropical storms. We've had, and I took a video. It was absolutely broken. It wasn't. No. It wasn't the wind. I went through all of those things, but I did. I chuckled. You know, I've had dogs poisoned. I had a severed dog head put in my yard on Christmas Day, and there's been a few things. But I just said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, and I shall continue to stand and do. I'm the national here.
Yeah.
And so.
Empress, when things like that seem to be presenting themselves, and I was just having this conversation with another more earlier this week. Sometimes it is a spirit in distress that needs your help. Just give that some thought.
No, you Yes, I know exactly what I know exactly.
We take it to mean something else, like maybe someone's angry and they want to bother us really badly. But sometimes it's a spirit, and it may even be acting through others sometimes because it needs some help from us.
No, I mean, I have some in particular, a particular thing to do, and it's taking me a long time to do it, and I know that that's what it is.
Yeah.
I know it. But I wanted to, and in fact, I wanted to get it done before I even spoke of it, but I was called to speak of it.
Yes.
Because I needed that.
Sometimes speaking from it, yeah.
That was exactly it. So you and I know, and yeah, there's a space where I'm getting in my own way.
We never say anything that's new. We are always just affirming what the Spirit has already said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, Mashondo Mamingi, thank you. I so
Empress,
appreciate you.
May I tell you on this call that I really love you?
Oh my goodness, and I love you too, honestly.
I want you to know that, just especially from the spirit realm, because in the spirit realm, you know, there's something there, and I can't see it from this dimension at this time, but our spirits know.
Yes.
Our spirits know. They know.
Yeah.
And I think it has somewhat to do with what what you've experienced, and just knowing that you are never alone. And I know you know this already, because you're very strong. I know that. But from the spirit realm, I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have tears in my eyes because you just touched, and it's the truth. It's absolutely.
We're one. We're all one.
Yes.
Yeah. And that spirit that is doing those immature things, like a dog's head and breaking the flag, they want your help.
Yeah. I'm getting there. I'm almost there. I mean.
Yeah. Some spirits are immature, just like some people are. They leave this realm immature, and they enter the spirit realm immature too.
Yeah.
And they try and say things, and they still don't know how to say them. So, yeah.
That makes so much. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't remove certain other things, but it absolutely knits it all together.
And even sometimes when, like, say, if we have someone that we might think, oh, they probably did this or whatever, they're even asking for help. They just don't know how to say.
Oh gosh, I mean, because really, as I look at it, because I mean, I think, every few days, certain people are threatening my life, but that person and others around them are all. They need help. They're hurting.
Yeah. So you have to your spirit is strong enough in the spirit realm to deal in the spirit realm with what they're dealing with. Right. You can help them in the spirit realm. You may not even have to say any words to them in the natural. But in the spirit,
that's not happening.
Yeah.
But in this, absolutely, it's already done in the spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's already done in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
And some of this is my test. Am I going to stay on right where I am?
Yeah.
That's
take a 1 week long deep breath and relax and just say, okay.
And that's, I shall share. I have songs about that, believe you me. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm breathing. Yeah. I'm giving thanks and breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only reason I'm saying what I'm saying is because I've been there too. I've been there too. And the ancestors taught me to just take a deep breath, and I don't care how long it takes me to take that breath. I'm going to take it and keep moving.
I've learned to breathe through places that,
Yes, you have. Yes, I know. You know I know. So, yeah. You got this. And you know what? Any place that you feel like you may not quite have a grasp on it, we're there grasping for you.
Yes.
Know that.
Yes, I shall not forget that.
Yeah.
Matondo Mamingi.
Matondo Mamingi Zola.
Thank you, and all nobles, all of us on this call.
Yes, Islam.
The nation.
Yes, we are one. A nation of God.
Yes.
Indeed.
Islam, Empress.
Islam, nobility.
This is Tonis Bey, Khalifa Territories. I have something to report.
Islam.
I was in an argument with someone because they were disputing that the United States is broke, the whole thing. So, and we were about 2 blocks from City Hall. I live very close to United Nations Plaza, where all of this crap started back in the whatever. And the 50 United Nations Plaza, which is a huge castle, appears to be abandoned. Now, City Hall itself is about a block away. So when we were having this argument, he said, well, have you asked them? And I was like, well, no, I haven't. So we walked over to City Hall, and a couple of things I noticed when I walked over there. Normally, there's like about 50 police cars. There was 3. When we got inside, we walked outside and stuff, I noticed there was hardly anybody in there. In fact, I yelled, because they have a thing where they take your ID and check you through. There was only 3 cops there. Usually there's like 20. Okay, so when I got in the building and I said, hello, it echoed. And I said, hey, I heard the contract is over. There was 3 cops there. 2 of them, one of them was a sheriff, one of them was a city cop, and then one was one with a printed badge. The 2 with the real badges, when I said that, they walked away. And the guy with the printed badge goes, it's possible. Okay, I ran up out of there. So I'm going to, sometime this week, or probably tomorrow, I'm going to make an announcement on the Capitol steps there, questioning their authority, reading a couple of things, and just announcing the real government, the fake, the money, the 2 parties. We're the one that's doing the receivership, and we're going to do that and ask them who they are, because if the government's broke, who are they? Please.
Okay.
Please.
My suggestion would be leave them out of your pronouncement. Just pronounce who you are.
Okay.
Because, see, to ask them and to say, present your, we know they don't have it.
How about giving them 10 days to get out?
No, they're already leaving. Just let that process happen. And this is what I told the Moors, and our ancestors have affirmed it. All we have to do is keep being about our mother's business. We don't have to pay no attention to them. They're going to go when it's time.
Okay.
We don't have to do that. We don't have to confront that. The ancestors have already done it. Let's just keep getting ourselves doing what we do.
And then I'll film the proclamation, because I want to be on the steps there and I'll send that to you. So,
yes, do that.
And maybe other people will get the idea to do the same.
You don't need to say anything to them. You don't need to talk to them. They're going. You've affirmed they're leaving, and nobody had to go in there and make a big pronouncement. Nobody had to do that.
I can't believe they admitted the truth.
Our prophet said they would now.
I know. Islam.
Yeah, our
Thank
prophet
you,
said they would. And we didn't. All we had to do was mail the affidavit, do the court actions, speak on the public record, come up with our own money, do our own financial things, and unify. Period. And that's a wrap. Yeah.
Islamism.
We don't have to confront anyone. That's why I'm going back to what I said earlier. This is not a fight.
We declared peace.
Of course we did. So no need to confront anyone. Just do what we do and say who we are. That's all we have to do. Period. It's all good. We got this, y'all. And I've been saying that and going to keep saying it, and it's manifesting. We got this.
There's other things I'm not telling you about, but expect some really good news very shortly.
You know, Justice Tonus, I can feel it in your energy. I said he holding back some good news, but you know what? He'll tell it when he's ready.
When I've done it.
Yeah,
it's almost done, but when I've done it, I'll yeah.
Do what you do, nobility.
All right.
We're with you.
Islam, and I'll thank you for everything you've done. Really, you were the impetus to get me going when this started. So thank you very much. And divine love goes before you. It blesses and multiplies all that you give and receive. I hope.
That you stated is bliss for me. That you know that all that's been said is true. All that you stood on and that you stand on is true. That right there, I got goosebumps that's what I get goosebumps about. Is everything that the Moors have stood on. Some have had to deal with family members who didn't believe them. Some have had to deal with other things that, been through a lot, done some POW demonstrations, and now everything is true. And that you are the head and not the tail. I'm good. And the ancestors keep saying, no matter how good it is, it's going to get even better. They keep saying that, and I'm like, okay. I thought my goosebumps was great. So Justice Tonus, we all did this together, and I'm just glad that people that Moors demonstrate, because your demonstrations and our demonstrations and their demonstrations all together. I for once I have no words. For once, just this once. Yeah.
Thank you for your blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Say a prayer for Sharif, because because of all the work he did, they tried to chase him out of his spot there. So he's at home. He went home to his kids. So we love you, Sharif Bey, and thanks for all you did, bro. And I'm going to continue that case, so don't worry.
And know that the ancestors have not made a mistake by putting you where you are. They want you there because someone else needs you there.
I feel that too.
Yes.
I used to tell people I got sent here by Creator to fix this, and they would look at me crazy. Now they're not looking at me so crazy.
It was just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Before the return of the Christ. And that's plural.
Yeah, in us, the Christ in you, the awakening of the Christ in you. Yes.
Je suis Christ.
Islamism. I got to go.
Islamism. Justice Sharif, we love you, and we love your heirs. They need you, and we need you too. So keep doing what you're doing. Islam Empress.
I'm working on a demonstration too, and I decided to look up bank while we're on the bank and banker, because I was going to put as one of my titles banker. But from the 1780 Universal Mariner's Dictionary, it says a banker is a vessel employed in cod fishery on the banks of Newfoundland.
So, Empress, you are not a banker, you are the bank.
Well, bank means something else too. So
yeah. Well, and make sure when you look it up, you look up both spellings. There's actually 3 spellings of the word bank. The first spelling is B-A-N-K, the second one is B-A-N-C, and the third one is B-A-N-K-E. Oh, and there's a fourth one, B-A-N-C-O, banco.
Okay, that's not in this. None of those are in this dictionary. So I have to look in another one.
Yeah. Depending on where we are on the timeline, we can spell it any of those ways. One of those is Latin, another is Espanol, yes, Empress Shasha, B-A-N-Q-U-E. Yes, that's another way to spell it. And B-A-N-Q-U-E is actually a more appropriate definition when you look it up. It is the root word of the word banquet, meaning to feast. And having enough, more than enough, having abundance, bank. So, that's why we say what we say about the definitions mean what we intend for them to mean. Because depending on which dialect or which language you speak or that you intend, it's going to mean what the heirs intend for it to mean, no matter how we spell it. So their definitions were incompetent at best. They tried their best, and we have to correct and update and uplift the whole dictionaries, all of them, all pronunciations, all spellings, all etymological inferences, etc. That's what the Phoenicians did. Yeah. And that's why we use ancient English, because then we spell it the way we want to spell it. And when we spell it from our soul, because it's a spiritual language, ancient English is spiritual, it's rooted in etymology, because, and the only difference between ancient English and any other language is the prefixes and suffixes. And the spelling of the root word, but etymologically, there's no ancient English that has been written, and I've seen many forms of ancient English out there on social media. The Moors will come onto our timeline, and they're writing in ancient English and using things like upside down question marks and things like that, which is how our ancestors wrote here. And I still get it. I still understand what they're saying. Some heirs ancient English is hieroglyphic. They only use symbols, emojis, sigils, signs, and marks. And I still understand what they're saying. We all understand each other. So, it's all good. We don't, that's why we don't stress over dictionaries and things like that. Yes, we do what our teachers told us and look at the older word, because that's closest to the original etymology that we stated it was on the public record. But then when we start putting our intention into our documents, we just spell it and it means what we said it means. So in the chat, Sheikh Klein Bay says that bank means storage also. It sure does. And then banks, and a bank is also it's a maritime word. Whenever boats reached the bank, they knew they were safe. But if you hit an embankment, then you're going up against something. River bank, that's land. Bank means land. And that's how come we're the bank. And that bank is spelled B-A-N-K. the same spelling that you just mentioned, Empress, but it means land, but they don't have that there in the dictionary. So we can again spell it, and it means what we intend for it to mean. We can do whatever we want. Just know the justification for what it is. We didn't say justify what we do. We don't have to do that. Just know the principle, know the precept. And when we know the precept, we can do whatever we want. We really can. We just have to know, okay, this is the principle that I'm using in order to do this or that. We can't just say we're the heirs. Nobility is not assumed. It is proven. And we just prove it to ourselves. So with that being stated, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, noble, are just everything heirs. The heirs are everything. Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising heirs.
Islamism, peace, grand rising nobles.
Islam.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Metondo maminge zoda.
Oh, light. Islam.
Islam.
This is Ephraim LB in Texas. I'd like to know if you can email me some delirium.
I can, and I think I've done that a couple of times. Is your email okay? I've done that a couple of times.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
I have been looking up, I wonder if it went to spam, and I went in spam, looking in spam, and I didn't see anything.
Okay, give me the email once more, and I'll send them right now.
Islam Empress.
DIVINE 169 at yahoo.com. Then thank you.
Islam Empress.
Yes, Islam nobility.
There's also, I completely forgot about this, Roman Bey, his son died in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
There's a GoFundMe. It's Prince of Wales, Little Prince of Wales GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to let people know.
And
people
send our condolences to him.
I have, yeah. So
Islam.
Anyway, thank you for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
Islam. Thank you too, nobility. Peace.